Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Let's go 6316, 8.8 for 6,000.
Got 6316, North Yelp Road, going to maintain 3,000, I'm 1 for the right.
3,000, let's go 6316.
Redwood 811, going to maintain 4,000. Airport's open o'clock, 1.
We take you higher and higher and higher. You feel it over and over again. We take you higher and higher and higher. You feel it over and over again.
6 Roman Terrafly runway heading runway 5. Let's take off.
Check.
And we're ready for takeoff. Sit back, relax. It's time to travel with Cosmic Passport. Spaced Out Weekend presents Elizabeth Anglin's Cosmic Passport, a 1-hour warm-up of news, stories, thoughts, and ideas to captivate your mind. You can follow us at spacedoutradio.com.
Now 20 years have passed us by, and we look back and count the time. Burning like the summer sun, when the world was young. As I lay staring from the ground, and sniffing trumpets wait to sound.
And now, here's Our Lady of Flight, Cosmic Passport with Elizabeth Anglin.
Good evening and welcome to spacedoutradio.com. This is Elizabeth Anglin, your host of Cosmic Passport and your intuitive medium energy healer for this evening extraordinaire. Because it's so fun to say the word extraordinary. Thank you for listening to spacedoutradio.com and Spaced Out Radio Weekend, which is more specifically what we are. I will start off this evening for the next hour with some talk about shifting, transforming, and manifesting on the spiritual path, because I had one of those days when things shift, transform, and manifest, and I was like, wow. This is so cool. But before we talk about that, and we talk about overcoming blocks to doing that, I do want to give a shout out to all of our wonderful listeners and just give you some words of news and encouragement. News and encouragement is all of you folks on High Plains Radio Network who are listening to Spaced Out Radio Weekend. Thank you for listening to us. Everybody on 107.7 FM terrestrial radio in New Orleans, thank you for listening to Spaced Out Radio Weekend. All of our Spaced Out SOR space travelers in the chat room, thank you for listening and being here. And just so you all know, if you love spacedoutradio.com the way that we love it, that we bring it to you because we love it so, 7 days a week, at least 3 hours a night, you can join SOR Space Travelers and get lots of neat swag. All you have to do is go over to the spacedoutradio.com website, look for the banner, and click on it to become a Spaced Out Radio Space Traveler, and donate and or give and or purchase a $5 a month membership, which will give you. We are going to give away books. We are giving away books and swag and lots of wonderful things. So do check it out. SOR Space Travelers. If you're listening through TuneIn or one of our other affiliated online providers, thank you for being here as well. Tonight we are going to do some intuitive readings. I hope you can get yourself on chat, because between myself and James Tyson, who will be bringing us the 2 hours after Cosmic Passport of Spaced Out Radio Weekend, James is going to be looking at the chat rooms, and if you type your question in all caps, I will answer it. However, there is a caveat. The caveat is I would like to be answering questions about where your manifestation blocks are, where your healing blocks are, where you're having conflict in your life, and what may be ways of overcoming it or moving through it quickly and easily. This could be financial. It could be with your career. It could be in relationship. What we're going to be looking at are blocks to manifestation, blocks to transformation, blocks to shifting your consciousness, looking for those and identifying them, and looking for ways for you to move forward with ease and joy and glory and allowance of all good things coming to you. So if you can keep them to that. Now, it can be thematic. You can, use the name of the person that you're having an issue with, or the name of the job, or something like that. But all you have to do is write in the chat room. I'll be looking at the SOR Space Travelers chat room. James is going to be looking at the Spreaker chat room. And I think there are a few more. But those are the two best bets. If you want to ask a question, look in the chat room, and I will intuitively look at it for you this evening. Now, I've had a long day. I just got off a 2-hour session with it's actually a fire investigator, but it's turned out he's kind of a paranormal investigator now. A big fire, lots of people died. So we just did 2 hours of fire/paranormal investigation. So if we stick to the topic at hand, which is identifying blocks and to moving forward and identifying, ways that you can help manifest what you really want more easily and in ways that are sane and not insane, that will be helpful. So we'll keep it to that. So I'm going to tell you my own story. Man, I woke up in a bad mood this morning. It was not even funny. And I don't know why. I mean, it could just be sort of we're going into a slow time of year for art galleries after Christmas. You sort of look forward and go, geez, I wonder how many people are going to want to buy gifts and art in January and February. I don't know, maybe not that many. And you go, I wonder how I'm going to pay for my life. So I was having that kind of morning this morning. And one of my peers, Reiki Master peers, got online and saw me on Facebook and started saying, hey, what are you having a problem with? Like, she knew. And I said, I'm having a problem with the fact that I don't know what I'm going to do to make enough money to survive in January and February. And she went, well, with all of your wisdom, you should just be able to shift that. I walked around as I was getting ready to open up the shop, and I went, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you come over here and you shift that. Oh, shift this or shift the other thing. Okay, and then I kind of just asked the question. I didn't come up with anything wise to do as I'm walking around being all grumpy. I just sort of asked the universe the question, hey, universe, how is it that I'm going to shift this? How am I going to shift this issue that I'm having, which is I don't know what I'm going to be doing over the next 2 months, the next slow period to get through. Well, it ended up that I had been thinking about, but I hadn't done anything toward going back to teaching piano lessons and voice lessons. And I opened up the shop, and immediately a gentleman walks in. He looks at my piano, and he says, And no word of a lie. He says, "Are you the medium?" I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "Oh, I want to talk to you about that." And he goes, "Do you play the piano?" And I say, "Yes." He goes, "Do you want to give me lessons?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let's talk about that." And I said, "Which thing do you want to talk about first?" He goes, "Well, I want my reading first, and then let's play the piano." So I ended up getting a piano student, even though I hadn't advertised. I hadn't asked anybody. I hadn't put any word out there anywhere except in my own brain, that I thought, well, okay, it could be good to have piano students and vocal students. That could get me through. So this guy shows up and immediately says, "Yes, I want to be your student." What are the chances of that happening? And I didn't do anything. I simply asked the universe, how is this shift going to happen? That's really it. I asked the universe, how is this shift into making, having more income, into doing something, how is it going to happen? So a very powerful thing, if you're trying to manifest something and you have no idea how it's going to manifest, don't even try to have an idea how it will manifest. Don't try to plan for it. Don't try to program it. Just ask the universe, well, how is that going to happen? And you can say it skeptically, but say it openly. How is that going to happen? I would like to do this. I think I'd like to have piano students. How is that going to happen? What will that look like? How will that occur? How easy will it be to do that? Don't ask how hard will it be, or the universe will show you how hard it will be. Just say, how is that going to happen? So for me today, when I ask for the shift of, how am I going to get through this slow period, the answer was, yes, teach piano lessons. Why? Because all of a sudden some guy shows up and says, will you teach me lessons? It's a small town. There are 350 people here. Nobody was here. Nothing was happening. But the first thing that happened was this gentleman walks in, asks for a piano lesson. So ask the question, ask the universe. When you are looking to manifest something, instead of affirming it, an even more powerful way of having it come to you is to ask the universe a question about it, formed in the positive, which is, how easy will it be for me to find my new perfect career? How easy will it be for me to start my new perfect career? How easy will it be for me to, how easy is it going to be for me to make money this winter? Something like that. Positive. How is making money this winter going to work? Or what is it going to look like when I make more money this winter? That sort of thing. That's the kind of question that I was asking that I got an answer to the first thing as soon as I opened the doors. Let's see. Man, a minute ago I was on the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers website, and I all of a sudden ended up on Exopolitics UK, which tomorrow night I think we will do a show not on exopolitics but on who are the aliens and ETs and extraterrestrials that are influencing or communicating or in relationship with you. And we will also do readings again tomorrow night. Let's see. Okay, so Galen says she can't hear me. James says you can call in 575-694-6634. If anybody else is having problems hearing me and you're on SOR Space Travelers, write it in so I know. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Let's see, what else do I have? The plan for tonight is, if you do call in, I'm going to listen to a bit to what your question is, and how you're speaking about it, and just sort of energetically scan you for where your blocks are. And then we'll talk about ways of releasing them, because everybody has different ways of blocking their good from coming to them, blocking their transformation. We're all afraid of change. I woke up this morning grumpy because it was like, yeah, do I really want to do something different? Do I want to start taking students? Do I want to have this whole new area of life? Gosh, that just seems like so much work. What if it doesn't pan out? And I had all of these, kind of grumpy thoughts about, well, darn it, I should just have to do what I have to do. I shouldn't have to do more. And I had an attitude about doing something that was unknown, doing something that was different. Even though I've taught piano lessons before, I've taught voice lessons before, it's never been hard. It's just I haven't done it in, a couple decades. But I can do it. I went to music school, right? But now at this age where I am in my life, it's new. So of course, I was resistant to it. So what we'll be looking for tonight are any of your blocks or resistances toward any goal or healing or manifestation that you're working on. And that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit more, but if anybody wants to start asking questions, you can call in to James, 575-694-6634, or Skype James_type. And ask a question, or you can type a question in all caps in either SOR Space Travelers or the Spreaker chat room, and James will come back in a little bit and tell me what your question is. All right, other good things to remember about manifesting, shifting, and transforming. So the first point tonight was, don't try to figure out how it's going to shift. Just ask the universe, how is this going to happen? And leave it open. How is this going to happen easily is even better. How is this going to happen quickly and easily is even better than that. So keep your question positive, frame it in the positive, and just ask the universe, how in the heck is that going to happen so easily? And just see what happens. The next thing is, instead of accepting your good coming to you, don't use the term accept. Say, I allow. And I allow my good to come to me quickly and easily is a much stronger statement than I accept my good coming to me now. That being said, if you are in the midst of conflict as part of your transformation, you want to back up and back away from it. And so there are some key things to do in order to shift energy, especially if you're having like a bad week or a bad month or even a bad year. If you're finding that you're in conflict at work, you're in conflict in relationship, you're in conflict with your children, you're in conflict with your pets, whatever the conflict is, be aware of the sources of information that you're taking in. So, for example, if you're a serial Netflix watcher like I am, and you're watching perhaps a darker show, a show that is less positive about humanity, you might want to switch from that to a lighter show, a show that's more about people in positive relationship, people doing art, people doing creativity, versus people killing each other because everybody is blaming everybody for something else. So you want to avoid conflicts where so-and-so blames so-and-so and then they get in a fight or they kill each other. Bob is in conflict with his cupboards because of no Nutella. Well, for people who are reborn squirrels, I'm sure that is an issue. Possibly you maybe need to get some whipped cream instead and eat like a real human being, Bob. But basically, avoid your conflict. If you're being around people who are constantly in conflict, that's not going to help either. So notice what's around you. I got into a bad state. I have a dear friend. I love her dearly, but she can spend 2 or 3 hours talking about how everybody around her is crazy and or a source of conflict. And that's where she's at, and that's her life, and that's how she views it. And as a friend, I sit and I listen, but after a couple of days of this, it gets to be a little bit much. So if it's a friend and you can't turn them off, just take what they're saying with a grain of salt, which is that's your belief system. Everybody is in conflict. Basically, do your best to shift on your own first, out of conflict, out of input of conflict, and start input of creativity, art, ease, and joy. Let's see what else. Now, there are deeper ways of shifting. That's why I wish somebody would ask me a question. I'm not sure what happened to James. James, are you still there?
I am. I'm doing all that show, sending out connections. Once the show is live, I send out the tweets and the Facebook links to all the different groups. I think I have 600 of them. I don't know. So I'm quietly doing that.
He's quietly doing that. Okay.
Yeah. Which was the one I was supposed to be monitoring?
Look at the Spreaker chat room.
The Spreaker one. Excellent. And you're going to do the SOR one? We actually have a caller in already.
Yeah, let's talk to the caller, and that'll give you time to do other stuff.
To do my thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's at the 740 area code?
Yes, hi.
Hello, what's your name?
Laurie.
Hello, Laurie.
Hi.
Go for
Hi.
Elizabeth.
Well, actually, I was calling in because I want to change my profession, and it's actually something I've been doing like as a quote-unquote hobby for a while. But I guess I'm a little hesitant to pursue it because I really wanted to make a way for a living, and I don't know how to get past whatever is blocking me to get this done. I don't know how to move forward to take that step because I see a lot of things going on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, keep talking. Keep going.
Okay.
I would like to know what it is that you want to do and what it is that you do. If that's okay.
Sure. I actually help out my sister who's an attorney, and I do a lot of help her when she gets an overload. I help her out. And then what I like to do is I write. And I write poetry. And it's very, what's the word I want to say? It's very personal to me. And so I have a hard time sharing it sometimes. And I want to actually use my poetry to inspire people and to, like, when they read my poem, like, oh, I understand where she's at, or I understand where she was, or I've been there, or give them a type of, like, understanding so that they feel like they're not alone in the world, you know? And so I'm not sure how to pursue it and make it a living, because that's what I really want to do in travel.
Yes, I can. They just mapped that all out. So this is what I saw as you were talking about it. And one is you don't need to at this point quit your job. The other is I'm going to ask you questions because this is what I saw you doing. So we're trying to look and see if you have any blocks about doing this. I see you running self-exploration poetry workshops over weekends, where and you do this not with adults but also with teenagers, especially children.
On. Elizabeth.
Youth and,
Elizabeth.
You can call it transformational youth, but it could be youth.
Elizabeth. Okay, caller, are you still there? Well, it looks like everybody went for a poop. Stand by. I'll be talking to you while we get our people back. You have
381-0475. I am unable to answer the phone at this time. If you please leave your name and your
Elizabeth?
number.
We lost everybody.
Yeah, you broke up, and then this lady couldn't hear you, and then you both went for a poop.
We went for a poop. Okay, well, if she can call back in.
Yep,
and
I'm calling her back right now. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you hear us okay now?
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, it just all of a sudden just cut out and I went away. So what they're showing me is you doing self-expression, transformational self-expression poetry workshops where you're sharing your poetry, but you're also guiding others in the self-exploration and transformation and expression path. And you're doing a lot of this with at-risk youth who may normally, instead of expressing themselves in a positive and creative way, may do things like break car windows and paint on walls and kick people and, or get into more dangerous activities. Also, I see a lot of female women, young women who are at risk, living in difficult situations. You can get a grant writer to write you a grant for this and make it part. Okay, so that you can travel and then you can start presenting this program to various places where there are at-risk youth. Now, you want to start out with fewer students in the first classes, which is, we're talking about 8. And once you get used to doing it and working with that population, you can go up to 15, 20, 25. And you'll probably be able to afford an assistant at that point to help, just make sure everybody gets everything they need. What you want to do is have an introduction day. So it's almost like a 2.5, 3-day workshop. You want to have an introduction day, an exploration day, culminating in a writing day. On the last part of the last day, people are presenting their work. Okay. And in terms of you just want to look at getting some extra training in coaching, and it really has to do with self-expression and creativity is what you're teaching, but you're also making it safe because you're feeling unsafe, right? But when you learn how to be safe, you can teach other people. You make other people safe. Okay. And if it's your workshop, you can help create that safe space. You can go through with your guidance on what makes a safe space for this expression to happen, and how do we create that? And if somebody isn't in a safe space at home, how do they create it within themselves? And that is where you can go with that. I get that it would take you about 18 months to get a grant. You might want to try it with some women in transition who are older first, like my age, 50-ish kind of thing, because they're going to be easier and they'll give you feedback. And they also would have money to pay for their class. Okay. In terms, you should go ahead and publish. You can make your own publishing name or whatever. but look up the Create Space information in Amazon, and by the time you really get going, I can see you having, up to 3 small books of poetry out. And that's more just your calling card. You can say, I am published. Did you self-publish? Well, yeah, sure, but, I'm published.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting.
So that's what it looks like as I'm looking at it, and it does look like an 18-month wrap-up. Did you feel blocks or hesitation about any of what I just said?
The only block I have is like getting a grant writer. I'm like, okay, because I'm not really, financially set. Let's put it that way.
Well, grant writers, you can usually get them to take their money out of the grant once you have the grant.
Okay.
Okay. And what you might want to do is go around and do some informational interviewing with other organizations that might be interested in what you do, and ask them about their grant writers or who's writing their grants. And you may be able to get someone to donate their time for the first grant.
Okay, like other nonprofits, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, other nonprofits.
Okay. Wow. You're blowing my mind. That's why I'm just like, Yeah,
it's all right there. It's all just sitting there waiting. And there's go online to Associated Grant Makers, and you may be able to get a mentor there who can help you through the initial part. Because your block is mainly what you don't know. It's who you don't know and what you don't know. And then also feeling safe. How do you...
Right.
For you, the transformational part is, how do you feel safe and secure to do this deep level of self-expression and vulnerability?
Right.
And that's really the magic of what you'll be teaching. The other stuff is just admin, but it's what you don't know that's scary about the admin. But your magic and what you're really giving to people is how to feel safe, how to be both creative, expressive, honest, in their integrity, vulnerable, but also feel safe enough to do those things. Or know or be able to understand when they're not safe, so that they don't step into it and then get, with the wrong sort of people and get whacked around.
Now, so my work is how to make myself feel safe to get to the point where I can help other people. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And how do I go about doing that in order to make this transformation?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of meditation on your part, some journaling, like what I suggest for you is the book called The Artist's Way.
Okay.
I would start out by doing that 12-week program in that book, and if it takes you, more than 12 weeks, that's okay. But that will teach you how to directly query your guides for information on how to create this program and how to make safe space.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I really appreciate that, because it's getting over it's not really anxiety, just getting over taking that first step on that proverbial invisible step, and knowing it's there.
And ask the question, how is this going to happen? How is this new career? Ask the question, how is this new career with poetry and self-expression going to present it? How is it going to happen? And just keep asking the universe. How is it going to happen?
Well, I appreciate all your input and everything, and I'm going to get on that. So
Cool.
I really appreciate that. I really do. I really appreciate it. Kind of gives me a way to, a direction. I'm the type of person that once you point me in a direction, I'm like, okay, now I know where, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just finding that door.
I had to have my racehorse point that out to me because I tended for most of my life to be like a enabler, a supporter. So I would just run around taking care of other people's stuff. And my ex-racehorse, we had a communication with him, and he said, would you stop running around in circles taking care of other people's stuff and figure out what your goal is and then just head for that. And it was the hardest part of the transformation was picking a goal, picking an end point, and going straight for it. Because
and you know what? You just hit the nail on the head because there's so much that I want to do. But I'm like, oh my God, I just feel like, what do I pick? What do I do? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and you pick one at a time, and then once you've done that, then you can pick another one as you have energy and time to do that. And then you'll find the other ones just start coming at you of their own sort of energetic, magnetic volition. So it just becomes more about juggling than being stuck, because things, once you've picked and met one goal and then another and another, and then these other goals just come. They start racing toward you. So you can do it.
All right. Well, I thank you very, very much.
Okay. You're welcome.
You have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Well,
okay.
That's pretty cool. I have a question from, I think, John. And then, of course, I'm in the Spreaker chat room. So to find that question again, amongst all the other chat.
This is John Connor.
Yeah. His question is, why have I had such great struggles with the very basic survival issues my entire life? What is the core reason for this? Is it karmic in nature? If so, was the greatest part of this karmic burden accumulated in this life or in a previous incarnation?
Oh, hold on.
You want me to? I can copy and paste it into.
I can see it.
Oh,
no, I can. I'm
good.
looking at it. He put it in both.
Oh, he did.
John, was
good man, John.
Yeah. All right. So hold on. We got to go back because this is a little deeper energy. John, what year? Type in what year you were born, because I think I've got just the very last lifetime, and I don't think you lived to be very old. And I want to make sure that we're not overlapping lifetimes, so I don't sound like a moron.
Elizabeth, unfortunately, something changed after you guys dropped offline. I can't add calls to our call anymore, and I have an unknown number phoning. And if I answer it, it'll put you on mute. So I don't know what to do. So if that person who's calling from an unknown number is listening, I'm sorry I can't answer. If I could see your number, I could call you back really quick. But there's something afoot again here in this stupid Skype mobile after we lost Elizabeth earlier. Okay. That's out of my way. Carry on with John.
All right. So, yes, 1959, that gives us enough time to get you in and out of here between the early 1940s and 1959 in a reasonable way. I know that our Keith Andrews says that people spend about 70 years on the other side. In mine, it's usually like 10, 20 years. So what I've got is you left. Last time, you weren't here for very long. You left in the early part of World War II. You hadn't done anything wrong. You were about 15 or 16 years old. It seems like you put your toe... It seems like you're tentative about being committed to being here on Earth. And there's not a judgment involved with that. It just seems like you're like, well, I think I'll try it out. I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm out of here. And you also have a kind of, it's almost like you know that this is the Matrix, and you have this skeptical bent, like, I'm not really buying it that situation is true. So it's almost like a part of you kind of holds back about the whole life situation and doesn't really commit to being part of the Matrix, doesn't commit to being part of the holographic virtual reality learning experience, and says, yeah, I'm not so sure that's real. And it's not you haven't really done anything wrong. It's just that you're not fully committed to doing this because you know in some way it's not really real. When you first asked the question, John, I got, well, because you're kind of like Lao Tzu and you don't want to accept the limitations of the learning scenario. You know, Lao Tzu even stopped talking after a while. He wouldn't even commit himself to talking because there's so many paradoxes in talking that you make a limitation here, you make a limitation there, you make a limitation there. So you're actually very aware that there can be lots of limitations to being committed to being here on Earth that don't necessarily have to be. And you're not really buying it. Now, that's actually wise. So I can't say, yeah, you were terrible, and so now you've got this terrible situation. But you may want to commit a little more forcefully to what you want to do, be, and have during the rest of this life. Like, put more energy into it. If you think of something that you'd like to experience, if you think of something you'd like to learn, if you think of something you'd like to have, put more energy into it, either on the spiritual end, like, how can I allow this to happen quickly and easily so I can experience that. Ask the universe questions about how you can do, be, and have things that you haven't really committed yourself so far to doing and being and having. And you know what? You're right. We are in the illusion. When you get to the other side and you're a near-death experiencer and you're in the love and you're in the reality of it and you kind of look back on Earth and you go, well, that's not really real. Yeah, you're right. But you can also transform and shift this situation into something really cool, knowing that it is the illusion and knowing that there's kind of ways around having it be limited. You can say, yeah, how can I make this experience unlimited for me? How can I do, be, and have that? What does that look like? How does that happen? So ask those questions and don't lock yourself in because you don't want to, and you haven't done that so far. And you can write back a response with a follow-up question if you want, John. But no, I don't see you having done anything terribly wrong. I just see you kind of knowing, being an older soul and kind of knowing that's not really real. This is not, I don't know. Well, yeah, you were involved with Nazi Germany. I don't know. I did not see you hurting anyone. You left about 15 or 16. Hold on. I'm getting that you left your. So what I'm seeing is that you weren't German. You were. It looks more like you were in the Netherlands or you were in Belgium, but you were. You decided to leave your family and do like a Nazi youth situation, and you left everybody behind, and you took a train. So I'm seeing you deciding to leave your family and taking a train to go become part of the movement. But you didn't really have time to do anything heinous to virtually anybody. I think the guilt is that you hurt your mother when you left, and you hurt your family when you left, but I don't see you. I see you being part of the movement for like all of 6 months, and then you were out. You were gone. You weren't on the planet anymore. So, I would just say, okay, the guilt I feel, let's move it from the manifest to the unmanifest, from particle to wave. I think the last real emotional connection you had with anyone, and this is why you feel guilty, was with your mother and was with your family. And once you got on that train to go be part of the movement, you really didn't have any emotional connection with anyone again during this lifetime. So it really is that last moment of leaving and understanding how much you were hurting your mother, hurting your parents. That was like the last emotional contact that you had in that last lifetime. After that, it was kind of cardboard. The whole thing just didn't seem real. And I think you had misgivings about doing something that just didn't seem real after you did it. But I really don't see you doing anything terribly terrible to anybody. You really didn't have time in this last lifetime. So I would forgive yourself for any pain that you caused, especially to this woman who was your mother, and move all of your guilt from the manifest to the unmanifest, from particle to wave. You also do have in the 1850s lifetime, there was a self-defense murder and or two that looks like it took place, but it looks, it kind of looks like Wild West stuff, sort of like you have to shoot or be shot kind of thing. Again, I would forgive yourself for those things as well. If you're just protecting yourself, it's not... it's so, yeah, you're okay, dude. Anything that you come about, especially in terms of guilt, I willingly release all guilt. I move it from the manifest to the unmanifest, from particle to wave, is where you go with that. All right. Anybody else with a question?
I was wondering if that thing you just said, could you say it a bit slower?
So John is having problems with guilt. So you say, I willingly...
Yeah, go ahead.
So whatever it is that you're stuck with, that you don't want to have, that's making you feel stuck, name it. So in John's case, it's guilt. And what you would say is, I willingly release all guilt. I move it from the manifest to the unmanifest, from particle to wave. And you can repeat this for 5, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, or you can make a tape of yourself saying it. I willingly release all guilt. I move it from the manifest to the unmanifest, from particle to wave. And you will actually begin to feel your energy shift in your body as you say it over and over again. I move it from the manifest to the unmanifest, from particle to wave.
Very cool.
Okay.
I'm going to have to rewind this, write it down, and think about it a little more. I'm just one of those guys. I'm not a quick study. My dog has a question. No. Joni Mitchell. She had sleep paralysis. My tongue just fell out. She had sleep paralysis. And she wanted to tell you and ask what it was.
So actually, Joni, I'm not sure that you really had sleep paralysis, because there was a guy sitting in a chair. There actually was a guy sitting in a chair. Does that sound familiar to you? And we'll wait for her answer.
Oh, was that Joni had called in? Oh, crap.
No.
That's... Oh, hold on. Because somebody was calling in from an unknown number, and I couldn't call them back. And
no, in fact, so is Joni the other thing?
Yeah. We've somehow screwed our Skype up again. to where I can't add them to the call like I did on the very first caller. Ever since we dropped from Skype, it's all gone for a poop.
Oh dear. Well, Joni, so no, it was part mediumship and part. It was more of a. The guy sitting in the chair was actually there. That's not something that was in your system, in your head. So, just let me know if that makes sense to you, that there was a guy sitting in a chair, because he was actually there, and if that makes me know that I'm saying something that makes sense to you. But it was part mediumship, so you're opening up to more of your deeper intuition, and you're being opened up to it. But the way that it happened is you were just paralyzed when you were in this mediumistic relationship with this person who was sitting in the chair. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay.
I'm just amazed with the mediumistic term. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a mediumistic event. It wasn't all sleep paralysis. Okay. And Serena says my dreams have become unusually vivid. Oh, somebody's here. Okay.
Hi. Hello? No, sorry. It's you guys talk about this. I'm all mixed up.
Oh, jeez. It's Joni. Oh my God, I didn't expect that. Oh, you took me by surprise.
Okay, I'll hang up. No, go ahead.
Okay, so Elizabeth, it was Thursday night. I've had this experience before. I remember the first when I was very, very young as a child. I think I was about 4, and then it happened again a couple years ago, twice. And this is where I had like an alien experience. But the one I had Thursday night, oh my God, it was the worst. I'm like getting goosebumps even right now thinking about it. I was doing meditation. I did the whole, tying the rope and the brick, centering it to the center of the world, going to sleep and cleansing myself before I sleep. And as I was doing that for the first time, I actually felt my body, instead of lifting up, it shifted down, like I fell through the couch. It felt like my body fell through the couch. And as it did that, I tried to wake up, and that's when I opened my eyes, and there was a man in the room. And he was so angry at me, and he was stomping through my house, through the kitchen. I'd fallen asleep on the couch, and he came into the living room area, and he's like swearing at me, and he's like, you cooked everything but the last egg. Like, I didn't make sense what he was yelling at me about. Like, I felt like it was an ex-wife, but it's no relation to me. And he was so angry, and when I tried to talk to him, I realized I was frozen. And then my face felt like, when you're standing on your head upside down too long and all the blood rushes and your face hurts? He made my face hurt, especially around my mouth. And then I felt like I was being choked. And I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I was dying. Like I was so terrified. I've never been in an experience like that before. And I've worked with, spirits before, but this has got to be the worst I've ever had. And never when I'm sleeping. And finally I was able to break free, and I couldn't sleep right until 5 a.m. And the thing is, this has been ongoing for about 2 months. Every night around 2 a.m. is when I start to fall asleep. Something wakes me up between 2 and 3:30. I can't tell what it is, but I feel like it's connected to this man, because he doesn't show me anything. He doesn't tell me anything. He's just in my room, and I have a Texas Ranger guide that's around. But when this entity, whatever it is that wakes me up, it's like he disappears. He comes long enough just to wake me, and then when I get up and I'm so tired, it's funny to him. And then my Texas Ranger comes in, and he tries to calm me, and that's it. And this has been ongoing, and I'm like, who is this? Why? Usually they kind of present themselves, right? This guy won't.
Okay, Joni?
Well, actually, you're okay. We're going to go quickly, because actually you are identifying with the woman who he killed, not him. Okay. And he is identifying you with her. So when he comes through, he would come back drunk and yell at her and then hit her and then finally killed her. Okay? So that's very clear that you were in the position of being her. So like a trance medium, you were feeling everything she was feeling.
Channeling it.
During that. And channeling everything she was feeling and how he was being. And what he does in your empathy empathy with her is he would come back drunk and he would wake her up and he would abuse her and, put her on her left foot or put her off. And what you want to find out is who she was, and then find out who he was. But he's not as important as her. The conversation, the person who is really trapped here is her. He's just an a-hole.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure, what changed in the last 2 months? Because, I do a lot of this work. I sit with people and whatever. My question is what was different? And I've been thinking for 2 months, every night, what is it? What is it? I can't narrow it down, but I can tell you that Thursday night was a huge change, and I could feel my entire, I've channeled before when reading, but this was not just a partial. This was a full-on, I was completely gone, and whoever was sitting right in me. And it's it was just the most surreal feeling I ever had, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a full channel, not a partial. And I thought, well, it says sleep paralysis. Maybe that's what it is. And I was hoping that that's what it is, but how can I find out who she is?
Well, I would go ahead and get a piece of paper, get a candle and some water and something to wrap around yourself. Ground yourself, cast a little circle, but get water and get a candle. Get a piece of paper and ask her, write down a question for her to the woman who's been, who I've been trans-channeling. Ask her, who are you? When did this happen to you? What is your name? So try to get specific evidential information versus she's trying to show you this is what happened to me. But say, who are you? When did it happen? Did you live here? Did you live somewhere else? And try to get more of those pieces of information. And then ask her what she'd like to do. Is she trapped? Would she like to move on? Is she trying to get him untrapped? Ask her what her purpose for coming to you is and write it down. So you ask the question first. You write down the question, and then this is automatic writing. You just write down the answer that comes to you. Do the best of your ability. It shouldn't be 3 pages of answer. It should be 3 or 4 or 5 sentences of answer for each question.
You know what? I actually started to scribble the night I got up, after half an hour. I started writing, and I can't read what I wrote. It's in pencil, and I started writing. I can't read it. It's funny because you're telling me to write it down. I started to try to think about writing what happened to me, and it turned into pencil scribbles.
Yeah,
that is creepy.
And she might have been trying to take over your hand so she could write, and you're not in sync that well. But you go ahead and be in control of the process and write the question and then write the answer from her. So what I do is Q:, A:,
Right, and just put it out like that.
Yeah.
Okay. You just gave me goosebumps.
Oh, cool.
I think you're just validating what I already was thinking. I was just hoping that wasn't it. Thank you so much, James, for calling back. I appreciate it so much. Elizabeth, you're amazing. Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Hi, everybody.
Yay. Okay. Off you go.
All right. Take care.
Okay,
bye.
Thanks. And before you go, Elizabeth, we had Paula on the Facebook chat room.
Yep.
Paula was asking, this is the one we were about to do before Joni came on. Are my finances going to improve in 2017?
Hold on. Yes, but it'll be delayed. You'll get a little boost. I think it's the first boost looks almost like your tax return, or it's like a February thing, and then and if you just keep asking, how do my finances improve? Keep asking the universe very positive questions about your finances, because by August, you're supposed to have July and August, you're supposed to have a very major improvement, which is really what you need, not just a drib and a drab. So, and keep saying, I allow my finances to improve, and keep asking the universe, why is it so easy for my finances to improve? And stay strong.
Very cool.
That is my final word.
I think I will do that. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. And if someone wants a reading from you, like a real reading where they have to throw money at your feet, what, like the hour-long ones,
kiss them.
where do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. No, ElizabethAnglin.com, and no, you don't have to kiss my feet or throw money at my feet.
No, you don't?
ElizabethAnglin.com. No, you just throw it at PayPal. And
PayPal.
And it throws it at my feet.
Bypasses the Internal Revenue Service. Right.
No, it doesn't anymore. It doesn't anymore.
Your PayPal isn't hooked up to, like, the Isle of Man or some little island in the Caribbean?
Next lifetime.
Next lifetime. Yeah, those islands still exist. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. And we're going to do this again tomorrow, too. So if you think about a question, and if you have something to ask or want to run by Elizabeth, give her a shout back tomorrow, 9 till 10 Pacific on Cosmic Passport with the young and the wonderful Elizabeth Anglin.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on 2 mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. 2 mediums and a large. Heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, news director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
It's time to go live on Spaced Out Weekend.
13, please. Oh, hi, Kevin. Oh, is that the time? Kevin, my friend, don't you find that watch just a little bit loud? Well, I certainly hope our buddy Bumblefoot is playing when we get there. Oh, you stinky big bundle of hair. I said Bumblefoot, not Bigfoot. Oh, it's going to be a long night.
It's time to head to the 13th floor of the old log cabin for Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson. You can tweet James at James Tyson SOR. You can find him on Instagram, Spaced Out Weekend, as well as on Facebook. On YouTube, our channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can check out our website, spacedoutradio.com.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere. Watch it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And now, perched high in his captain's chair, way above the clouds, here's James Tyson.
Welcome, everybody, to Spaced Out Weekend. 'Tis I, just like Dave said, James Tyson, and I am broadcasting to you from my little log cabin on the 13th floor of the Spaced Out Radio Network here on the paranormal portals of the lower left Canadian coast. That's my left, not your left. Good Lord, people, why do people get mixed up in their directions? And remember, here on Spaced Out Radio, we broadcast every night of the week as we want to be your one-stop shop for when it comes to UFOs, spiritual, conspiracy, paranormal, and the supernatural, and a lot more. Our introduction was played by our best friend, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses, and he is the man behind all the music on Spaced Out Radio and is our official sound. Please go to his website, bumblefoot.com, and see what he's doing with his gift of being a very good musician. He is actually spreading that knowledge around the world with his events that he puts on to help children become more confident and hone their skills as musicians. At this time, we'd like to say hello to everyone taking part in the chat rooms. That is in Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. Now, have you signed up for the SOR Space Travelers Club yet? It's $5 a month, and with that, you get your name entered into monthly prize draws, and we've got stuff piling up, people, books and T-shirts and Ferraris. I don't know what else we got piled up here. You also get access to the private group interviews, access to a special section on our website, and much more. And while at spacedoutradio.com, you can read our latest blogs and check out Eric Markham's SOR Space Wire for your latest in weird news. And we know Eric is the king of weird. We also have a new feature on our website. The SOR Sightlines is there for you. If you've experienced anything that you want us investigated, and we'll send out our guy, Mike Schmidt, and he will look into your experience for you. Just fill out the Sightlines report, and we'll get back to you. All information is 100% confidential. We also want to thank our new affiliate, the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and their listeners from 160 countries worldwide. Now, 107.7 is terrestrial radio. We, at Spaced Out Radio, are extraterrestrial radio. And you can, for wanting to find us later, because we're a bit late for you on the East Coast, or early for you in Europe. You can find us on iTunes. You can download a podcast on iTunes. You can listen to us live on iTunes. Download the podcast on YouTube, or even just tune in live, Spaced Out Radio show for our extraterrestrial broadcasts on live radio. And tonight with us, I have a really special guest, Christine. I knew it. I've been saying her name really good. Christine Duminiak. Christine, what happened? Christine Duminiak is a certified grief recovery specialist, an international spiritual bereavement recovery facilitator, and has been doing that since 1998. She's a radio co-host on Ask the Angels show and the founder and spiritual advisor of Prayer Wave for after-death communications, and Prayer Wave, which is a non-denominational grief support prayer group, and she is a member of the National Alliance for Grieving Children. Christine is the author of Grammy Visits from Heaven, Heaven Talks to Children, Afterlife Contacts, Spiritual Gifts and Loving Messages, God's Gift of Love, After-Death Communications, and the co-author of Grief Diaries, Hello from Heaven. A contributing writer for the Open to Hope Foundation, the music composer and voice of the guided meditation CD, Meditation of God's Love and Healing for Those Who Grieve. She is an expert consultant listed with the Learning Annex. You have probably seen her in things like the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Arizona Republic, the East Valley Tribune, Scottsdale, the Reporter in the Villages, Florida, and frequently in the Bucks County Courier-Times and at legacy.com. And if I had to go into every appearance she's been on television and radio, our 2 hours would be up. You can go learn more about her and what she does, her being Christine, at www.ChristineDuminiak.com. That's DUMINIAK. ChristineDuminiak.com is her website. Christine, I want to, after that semi-garbled introduction, I want to thank you and welcome you to Spaced Out Weekend.
Thank you so much. You did a great job. My mother had a hard time pronouncing my husband's last name, too, so you're in good company.
Well, to me, it's so easy. And then as soon as I started doing the introduction, it just fell right apart. Duminiak.
There you go.
There you are. I'm just going to call you Duminiak. Christine, you've come into an interesting. This is an interesting line of work you've got yourself into.
Sure have.
Would you have been somebody who would have been considered a little bit sensitive to things on the other side as a child growing up?
I'm not aware of that. I don't remember anything like that. I do remember one occasion where I thought I was going blind sometimes, where I would see this globe, and it had a green and purplish sphere, and I thought, I think I'm going blind. I'd be outside playing, and then it would kind of dissipate. And it came back later on in life after I started to have some spiritual experiences. But when I saw this particular globe again, in my mind's eye, actually, I would also see spirits and their hats, they look like silhouettes in the middle of this globe, which I knew it was a spiritual thing that was happening. And I had forgotten all about it until it happened again as an adult. So that's the only thing I can really remember from my childhood. Yeah. And I used to be one of these people that if you talk to me about, vivid dreams and getting guidance in your dreams from spirits and anything along those lines, I would just roll my eyes and just try to be polite. But I thought, I think this person's really imagining all this. But in 1998, I had a really rude awakening to the spirit world when my dead in-laws showed up in my room one night and stayed for an hour. So that will change your whole world.
Yeah, that kind of gets your attention.
Yeah, right. But it was really, it was meant to be, because prior to this happening, I had never really heard of like mediums and psychics, and to that, I wasn't familiar with that world. And one night in January 1998, I was waiting for my parents to come up. We were going to a church where they had charismatic healings, and my dad was very ill. He had emphysema and Crohn's disease, and we thought maybe, with laying on of hands, he might, miraculously be healed. So while I was waiting for my parents to come, I turned on Larry King Live, and I really wasn't used to watching the show, but James Van Praagh, the medium, happened to be on that night. And that's the first time I ever heard of anyone being able to talk to spirits. And I was so amazed. And then I had received a gift card from my brother-in-law for a bookstore for Christmas. And he's a priest, by the way, so, these things are kind of taboo to him. Mm-hmm. So we were out together, and we were walking past this bookstore the following month in February, and I see James Van Praagh's book and prominently displayed. And I said, I'm going to take this gift card and go buy it. And he just rolled his eyes like he couldn't believe I was going to buy a medium's book. And I read his book, and it was so amazing that he could communicate with spirits and how he got his gift as a child. And the following month, that's in March, that's when my in-laws showed up in my bedroom. So the whole thing was preparing me for not being freaked out when this happened to me. Because if I had never read his book or saw that he was communicating with spirits, I wouldn't have known what to have made of the whole thing. I probably would have been running, screaming out of the room when it happened.
Yeah, or just think it was a bad dream that you kind of were semi-awake to.
Well, what happened, it's really an interesting thing. I did wake up from a dream around 4 o'clock in the morning. And I looked at my alarm clock, or my clock, and I looked around the room, and I saw this man suspended in space near the ceiling, sitting at a desk, and he had on a black Padres type of hat, like Italian priests would wear, mm-hmm. and a red cloak, and his hands were like in a prayer type of folding of his hands, reading a book, sitting at a desk. But he was suspended in the corner of my room near the ceiling. And I kept blinking my eyes thinking, well, what is this? I must still be kind of asleep. And I kept thinking, this will go away. But it stayed for a little while. And then he kind of disappeared in a puff of red, I don't know what to really call it, but it was dissipated that way. Okay. And I thought, what is this? And then I saw all these spirits at the foot of my bed. And they were scary-looking spirits, James. They had skeleton faces, and some of them were choking each other. I thought, well, this can't be a good thing. So I whipped my room under my pillow, and I started praying. And the next thing I know, I heard this gush of wind come into the room. With the room turned bluish color, and all white streaking lights going through the room, and chasing out what was ever, not of God in that room at the time. Then I saw over my doorway, just for a brief second, a woman that kind of reminded me of the way the Blessed Mother or someone would be dressed in the days of Jesus, just for a second to let me know that everything was safe now. And as soon as that happened, I felt such peace and calm come over me. I was no longer afraid. And I started to think rationally. I started to think, well, who would want to visit me? Now I'm getting into the moment here, okay? So I'm thinking, what do I know? No one I really cared about that I was that close to other than my in-laws. And I really didn't, as much as I love them, I didn't miss them like I would if they were my parents or my side of the family who had died. So I remembered that my husband was very, very close to his dad, and his death affected him a lot. And so I said, John, that was his name, my father-in-law, is that you? And the next thing I know, the spirit that was at the bottom of the foot of my bed came right up to my face. And he had on a man's fedora hat. I could see him from the chest up. He had on a black suit jacket, a striped tie, and a little white hanky in his pocket. I said, oh my gosh. And now I'm really excited because my dead father-in-law is in front of me in my bedroom. And then I remember he always traveled with his wife, Stella. So I said, well, is Stella here too? And the next thing you know, a woman with a flapper's hat and red lipstick and pearls around her neck is floating in front of John. And I said, oh my gosh, my in-laws are here. And then I remembered my husband's sound asleep and his parents are here, and I didn't want him to miss out. So I woke him up to tell him his parents were in the room. And he believed me. I mean, he couldn't see them, but I'm pointing, they're right here, they're right here. So I saw his lips moving, and he was talking to them and like praying, but then eventually he fell asleep. And but they stayed for an hour until I couldn't keep my eyes open any longer. I could only see them, I could not hear them. So it was a one-way conversation with me babbling on, oh, I can't believe you're here. This is so exciting. And wow. And, just kind of like that over and over again because I was so amazed. And then after about an hour of this, I said, well, I'm falling back to sleep now. Thank you so much for coming. And I waved to them and they waved back. And then I went off to sleep. And they repeated these visits night after night after night after this. And I did not understand why they were coming. I thought, well, maybe it's a warning about something because my husband had cancer in the past and we thought he was cured. So I asked him to get a checkup to be sure that he was okay. And but their repeated visits was sort of like really bothering me. I needed to know what this was all about. Why were they coming? And so I went on the internet and I found different people that were helping me. And have you heard of Judith Guggenheim, co-author of Hello from Heaven?
I've heard the book. I'm not familiar with the author.
Okay. So people kept directing me to go contact her, which I did. And she advised that I get in touch with this Christian medium named Sunny Wells. And I thought, I think I'm going to give it a whirl. So I had a session with Sunny Wells over the phone, and I asked to speak to my guardian angel because I felt my guardian angel would know what was really happening in my life. He would be the best one to talk to. And so he explained that, they were just coming to say hi, my in-laws, there was nothing wrong, but that God had a plan, a mission for me, and do I accept the mission? And so he explained what it was going to be. I was going to be helping people spiritually and emotionally and with touch healing. And I said, well, God wants me to do this? Like, what fool is going to say no? So I said, well, sure, sign me up. And that's how it all began. And so my angel made a suggestion about what field I should get into. So I got into hand and foot reflexology so I could actually touch people and send in healing to them. And I noticed that God kept sending me people who were grieving. I would see a broken heart around them and just the most saddest people you would ever want to meet. And by this time, my own dad had passed, but I was getting so many signs from him. This was in the year 2000. I was getting so many wonderful signs. Like I was constantly walking around with a smile on my face. And I wanted other people. Are we still on the phone?
Yep. Yep.
So I wanted other people to experience the happiness that I was feeling. And that's when I created a website called Prayer Wave for After Death Communications, where we would pray for people to get afterlife signs from their loved ones, and where people could feel a safe place to come and post their experiences without anyone ridiculing them. It was not a debate forum. It was a forum for like comfort and grief and afterlife signs. And so every Friday would be Prayer Wave Friday, where we would pray for people to get a sign from their loved ones. And out of that, you just can't believe how the prayers are working. These people who had never gotten the sign were getting them. And I got so many letters from people who said that they were really on the verge of suicide, which they never shared with me or our group. But after they started getting signs from their loved ones, they completely changed their whole look on life, and they were happy, and they abandoned those thoughts of suicide because they got it, that their loved ones were still a part of their lives. They weren't off in a black hole somewhere, never to be heard from again, that they were like really angels on their shoulders. And that's how it all started in the beginning. And so yeah, I'm real. It's been going on since 2000. So it's been 16 years that we've now moved over to Facebook because everyone's on Facebook. So our group is like a private group on Facebook, of course. But you can just ask if you want to join it. It's now, I've changed the title to be called After Death Communications and Prayer Wave. So if people feel that they're in the need for they want to talk about getting an afterlife sign, or they've had some and have no one to share it with, this is the most loving group. There's over 3,000 people who are part of the group now. So, and it's just miracles happen over on that group. It's really wonderful. So, but because of you get these little nudges from God through other people, and I started. A lot of my group were saying, "Oh, why don't you write a book about our experiences? Why don't you write a book?" Well, James, I had never written a book. I didn't feel like I was a writer, but so many people were saying it. I thought, So I said, well, Lord, if you want me to write this book, I need some signs from you, because this is a pretty big undertaking. I don't consider myself an author, but I need some signs. So one night I had these visions that of Jerry Seinfeld at this time had his book out. And I was shown like Jerry Seinfeld's book in the corner of Barnes & Noble, real big. And I thought, okay, they're showing me a book. And then I was shown a picture of like a sky and part of the name of the book in this vision that God wanted it to be called. I said, well, okay, here we go. So people started coming forward and contributing their stories. So out of that, I compiled what I call the 20 common types of afterlife signs that people get from their loved ones, and they're all listed in the book. And I describe them in detail. And then there's 123 stories of people's personal experiences, and I have them categorized under different types of signs. So when people read the book, they feel like it bounces back to them like, oh, this happened to me. Oh, that was really a sign, and I overlooked it. And so I felt that the book is still selling. I published it in 2003, and it's still a winner because it's a very healing book. When you know nothing about afterlife signs, it really, it's not overwhelming, but it's very concise and to the point, so it's easy reading. And then I have a chapter on healing from grief, which gives a lot of tips, and also how to get an afterlife sign, which is in the book too. So that's how it all began.
Oh, wow. I'm going to take you back to the beginning.
Okay.
Well, not all the way to the beginning, because you can't remember when you were born. But when you saw the being in, kind of suspended with the hat. Now, via the wonders of Skype, I sent you a picture. I don't know if you could kind of scroll down.
There was something, that popped up. It's not, no, I'm not sure.
Okay. It's basically a silhouette of a man in a hat, and I was wondering if you could see it. Oh, actually, if you're looking on your screen, there's a little conversation button up in the top right, a little bubble.
Okay.
Click on that.
Actually, I don't really see that, James.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but
disregard then. Have you ever looked into anything in regards to the fellow in the hat? Now, what color was his robe, you said?
It was red. Oh, I found out his name. He was an angel. I found out Angel Jeremy, who was like a messenger angel preparing the way for my in-laws that night. Yes. Yeah, I found out who he was.
And do you know why those other entities showed up after he left?
Yes, because, I am a believer that I believe in Satan and the demons, okay? So I'll put that right out there. And what my guardian angel explained to me was they came along, they were trying to scare me because, they wanted me off my mission. They wanted me to be so scared that I would not pursue this. Oh. So when I prayed for God's protection with my rosaries, they were driven out of there. That's what the white streaking lights were. They were the warring angels actually chasing them out So then that's when the whole room turned very peaceful, and I was in the zone that I was able to think rationally about what was going on and feeling it very at peace. So yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have the preparation. Good to have an angel drop by and make sure everything's good to go. Yeah, I was kind of concerned. There is a being that is described as Hat Man, sometimes wearing one of those like almost like a Zorro hat, the real wide brim black hats, and he's not a nice guy. He usually shows up before something untoward is about to happen, or some bit of an evilness. But it's also an urban legend, a myth. Who knows if it's real? I just wanted to double check on that with you.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that to me. I appreciate that. What I have found is when you are sleeping, that is a very common time for spirits to communicate with you, and so it's always really good preparation to ask for God's holy protection before you go to bed at night. And it helps like clear out the room. And also you'll find when you say that every night before you go to bed, that if you are having a bad dream where you feel like you're under attack from evil, you'll have the wherewithal subconsciously to actually ask for Jesus' protection, which I do when I realize something's happening and I'm deep in a dream. And then the whole dream changes to something really nice. So, but it's really from just having the mindfulness and the habit of saying it over and over again. So a bad dream can instantly be changed by asking for Jesus or God or whomever you believe in to protect you.
Now, absolutely. You pray, right? Every night you pray to allow your loved ones, to visit if they want and protect you.
I don't pray for that specifically. Okay. Because my parents visit often, and in a way, they do the usual dime penny kind of thing, songs like Frank Sinatra songs and things like that. But what they really boiled it down to now is that my dad will massage the top of my head when he's around, and he just did that a few seconds ago to remind me. And my mother will tickle my nose and the left side of my lip when she's around, so I know who is who. So for me, I get constant communication that way, or signs of their presence. But for other people, it's a really good idea if you want your loved one to visit you in a dream to, ask God, because they always have to get permission from God to allow your loved one to visit you. And then if you want them to visit you in a dream, think about them before you're going to bed. Think about them in a place, maybe a comforting place on vacation or something. And then to keep a pad and pen under your pillow, because many times as they're waking up, we'll forget that dream. But before you completely wake, if you jot it down without even opening your eyes, when you wake up full, it'll stare you right in the face that your loved one did come to visit you, but you might have forgotten it, unless it was a very vivid dream that you're not going to forget. So
that's very interesting, and it kind of backs up what I interviewed a fellow doctor, a dream expert out of Scotland, Dr. Ian Wallace. He says that keep the notepad there. What happens if you're in a dead sleep and you're perfectly still, as soon as your head comes up, there's a fluid starts, I can't remember too much about this. I should get him back on to talk about this. But once that fluid starts moving again, it actually washes away the dream, unless it was a really substantial one. That's why you start forgetting as soon as you sit up.
Well, that's a good scientific explanation.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very, very interesting. I should have him back on again. But he was, all he defines all the different classic dreams, the teeth falling out one, the standing up in public naked, and he explains all why we have those ones. When I go to bed at night, I meditate, and I ask for a number of things, which is basically what one person's meditation may be another person's prayer, because we're all asking or communicating with the higher source. And I I build the cocoon around me, then I expand that of love and light through the entire room, and that seems to completely clear out anything negative. I haven't had any odd experiences since then, and by odd experience I mean that weird paralysis, like someone's holding you down and things, or noises, or people talking to me at the foot of my bed, or standing beside me, and something touched my knee one night, and I said, and out loud I said, "Who's that?" And I can't remember. It was like, "Hi, my name's Lyle," or "I'm Lyle," but Fred's here too. And I went, "Okay, that's good. I'm going to go back to sleep now." And then later I found out they were just spirits that like hanging out with me because of my energy, but very, non-threatening. Just a couple of tagalongs I bring home. I'm going to go back to the afterlife signs. Now, of course, that's after death communications, or God's gift of love. That's one of your books, and it goes through the afterlife signs. Now, what are on your website here, and if my listener goes to ChristineDuminiak.com, DUMINIAK.com, ChristineDuminiak.com, and go to there is an afterlife signs. There's 20 common afterlife signs. Now, and of course, these are explained in detail in the book God's Gift to Love After Death Communications. The first one was dreams and dream visit tips. Now, we kind of touched on that, asking God to allow your loved ones to come through. I want to, before we get into these, the 20 of them, how long after a passing do you find that it takes a loved one to come through?
It varies. In my case, when my dad passed, he came through 2 hours later. I was on the way up to the hospital to join my mother, and I saw him in my mind's eye, and my dad had passed from emphysema. And I saw him take 3 deep breaths in my mind's eye to let me know he could breathe now. He could breathe now. Wow. So he was right away. But maybe I'm a little bit more in tune than other people. So, and then that very night when I went to bed, my dad visited, and when we were, and he showed me things that happened in his room when he seemed like he was really out of it, and like I heard him relay a conversation from my sister who was in the room on the phone talking about going to Florida and the weather and everything. So I called my sister up the next day and I said, "Daddy visited me last night and he said this, and I heard your voice say this in his room," which is, I was on the phone with our cousin. That's exactly what I said to her. I said, "Well, Daddy knew," because he relayed that to me. And then my dad, one of his brothers, who's really a very Christian person, very Bible oriented, come to visit when my sister and I were there, and he read Psalm 23, which was now that I walk through the valley of death, I feel no evil, that one. Mm-hmm. And it was so comforting for my sister and myself to hear that psalm while we were there with my dad. Well, my dad showed me that night after he passed our uncle walking down the hallway to his room. So he knew he was there, even though he was out of it and he wasn't with us. He was, but maybe his spirit was coming out of his body at the time, and so he could see it. But so, and then the last night that I had spent with my dad, which was 2 nights before he passed, I played Frank Sinatra music all night for him while I stayed there, because he loved Frank Sinatra. So one of the first songs that my dad played when he came that night after he passed was Witchcraft by Frank Sinatra, which was kind of funny because it was one of the songs on the tape. And also, when I stayed overnight in my dad's room, I'd fallen asleep and I was shown my dad's empty bed. He had pink sheets in the hospital, empty bed with a scroll left behind, meaning that he was going to be giving me messages after he left, which is what happened. That was very comforting too. So the day of the funeral for my dad, because my dad had visited me already in so many like wonderful ways, I could not get the smile off my face because I knew my dad was not in that box. And I was so thrilled because he was going to continue his relationship with me in a spiritual way. And it was hard for me because I'm like smiling through the whole viewing and funeral because I was so happy. And I wanted that same happiness for other people, James. That's why I got into the field that I did. That's why I wanted people to get afterlife signs like me, because I wanted them to feel the joy that I was feeling. So, yeah, so I really, I miss my dad, but it was okay because I knew he was still part of my life.
Oh, yeah. That's incredible to have that connection. After the initial communications, hospital and things, was there a time span where he didn't come through? A month or 2 months?
No, he kept coming through a lot. I don't really remember. But I really never thought about that because it turns out my friend, the Christian medium, Sunny Wells, that I was told to go to, well, we became friends, and she's my radio co-host on Ask the Angels. So we've been friends. It was just meant to be that we were supposed to connect up together. So if I want to talk to my parents, I'll go through her to talk to my parents. And I love it because I find out what they're doing in heaven. And my dad was a big golfer here. He was my favorite golf buddy. And so he said that he plays like a sort of type of golf in heaven. And my parents used to bowl together on a mixed team. And they said, well, we still bowl up here. And my mother says, we could cheat, but then everyone would know about it. So we don't do that.
Oh, that's how thunder happens. It's your parents bowling. That's kind of cool.
I think mine's a little different. I mean, I found out that they're on my angel team. They're part of my angel team now.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I do other things in heaven too, not just, on my angel team, but they are part of it. And so everyone's different. And I think for me, I feel especially blessed by God. And so I really can't compare myself to other people. But the bottom line is, if you're getting signs from your loved one, comforting signs, you know that they're safely in heaven with God, because they don't have those supernatural powers to be able to give us signs unless they are with God. So you can be at peace whenever you get a comforting sign from your loved one. And but they have like important missions to do in heaven. So you might have a dry spell where they're doing something they want to just concentrate on that mission that they're doing, and then they'll come back and give us signs again. So it comes like in waves, just depending on how busy they are.
Yeah, so, I had a friend that didn't come through for months, and when he did come through via a psychic, he was with a guide, and the guide was there making sure Gordy didn't give up too much information, because he was still on the learning curve of how to of his schooling on the other side. And I asked the medium, I said, is it like school? And she says he's laughing right now because he says it's more like going to college. So that was a little bit different. It's it's always been my understanding that you kind of go through a bit of a education once you get across.
Yes, it's like an orientation, and then you're always on a learning curve when you're there, because there's just so much to know. Now, I remember I think I mentioned to you about my brother-in-law, my husband's brother, who was a priest. Mm-hmm. And he passed in 2010, but when he would come down to visit, we would go out to lunch together, and I would tell him about my spiritual experiences, but priests aren't really, they're not instructed about this in the seminary, and so they're very weary of any spiritual contact that you get. But I knew how, because of my friend Sunny Wells, the Christian medium, and her angels explained to us how you protect yourself and never take anything for granted. And I knew how to do this. So I would try and explain that to him, but I would always end up crying because he would make me feel very badly. And yet the messages I'm getting were from his parents at the time. So I said, we have to agree to disagree on this, Jack. Yeah. And so when I came out with my first book, I was a little afraid to tell him because I thought, well, what's he going to think? I mean, and I was on some TV shows, and I thought, well, it's going to get back to him, so I better tell him. And I was really surprised. At this time in his life, he was in a retirement home, and he was really proud of me, and he started selling my books to the other priests in the retirement home.
Oh, wow.
To me. So I thought, oh, wow. And then, like, a lot of the nurses would come in when I'd go to visit him, or my husband and I would go visit him. They'd come in and they'd tell us their stories in front of him, which was very validating, and how comforting it was that they were getting afterlife signs. But here's the thing. After my brother-in-law passed, which was in 2010, I got to talk to him through my friend, Sonny Wells. And he talked for an hour and a half straight to me. And he was saying that he should have... and when the first thing he said was, James, get this. He says, well, I guess I owe you an apology, Chris. I should have investigated what you were trying to tell me about the spiritual contacts and everything. Because once he got on the other side and they explained to him, this is the work that she's supposed to be doing. And Sonny and I are in this together. And he was saying that it was the work that we're doing as... He said was as important as his work as a priest. And so it was really so nice hearing him apologize because he used to make me cry. He didn't mean to make me cry, so it was really, really nice. And he was saying that he's still teaching in heaven and, he's teaching the word in heaven and he's on a level with other clerics. And he has a lot of busy work, but of course he loves being there. So, yeah. In fact, when they had his viewing, I was sitting in church, and all of a sudden I had a vision of him being with Jesus, and it was so sweet to have that vision of him, which I could tell my husband about, and it was really, really nice. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's been my experience that. Depending on your religious background, some priests would believe these entities that we come in contact with, that most likely are our loved ones, are demonic and a trick of Satan.
Right.
And it was really hard for me to understand why Satan would trick me by having my mother come through and giving me nice information and patting my head and moving away. Okay, that was a pretty evil thing to do, Satan. What are you doing? So, how can that possibly be?
Because this is what they do. They try and exploit, like, your pain, for instance, or give false information. And it's not unusual for them, especially in your dream state, to impersonate a loved one. For instance, I was getting, one night I got a dream of my dad. And he was in an old bedroom that I used to, from an old house, and he was bleeding, and someone was like pulling like skin off of him, and it was a very disturbing dream. And so I said to the person who looked like my dad, "Are you of God?" And the next thing and this was in my dream state because, like I said, I'm very aware of this, and so I'm able to do it in my dream state. And he said, "No," and then he disappeared. And so did the other ones because they were caught. And then one time, so they try and like exploit your vulnerabilities. If you're someone who's really grieving and in pain, they'll come and they'll act like they're angry at you, and they look like your loved one, or they'll act like they'll be with someone else, like another person in a loving way, which makes you feel jealous and hurt. So anything that comes in your dream that looks like your loved one but is causing you pain in any way and not comfort is not your loved one. And that's their goal, is to keep you down, to keep you hurting instead of when God sends your loved one to you, it's for the purpose of bringing you comfort and love and peace. And if that's not happening to you, you have to wipe that out of your mind, and you have to be really sure that you're asking for God's protection before you go to bed. I remember one night before my dad, 2 years maybe before my dad passed, I had this visit from a spirit that looked like my dad. I was in that half awake, half asleep state, and that's when it's easiest for them to visit me. And he said, I just died. And so I thought, oh my gosh, my dad just died, which would not be unusual because he was a sickly guy. So I thought, well, do I call my mother in the middle of the night? I said, no, I'll just wait till the next morning. So I called the next morning and I said, oh, hi, Mom. And she's acting like everything is normal. And I said, well, how's Dad? She said, oh, he's fine. Well, you see, this was an impersonator that was trying to upset me that my dad died. So, yeah, they use that trick, James. They do use that trick. So,
okay.
Yeah. But in that case, you saw that was not meant to give me comfort. That was meant to hurt me.
Yeah.
And that can really differentiate.
Okay. I was just curious about your feelings on that. One of the other common afterlife signs is you have down number 3 is pets. How does a pet communicate?
Well, I have had a number of pets and there's 2 ways when I talk about pets. It's pets who have passed and pets who are still alive here that can see spirits. Pets can see spirits. Mm-hmm. And so they'll react lots of times when a spirit is in the room. They'll stare at a corner of the room and bark or something like that, or they'll get real excited if they're the one who was their master was around. They'll do that. They'll tail will wag, for instance. But pets come and visit too. I've had two dogs that I've had as pets come visit me, and I've had a cockatiel come visit me, and I've had a pet chicken from my childhood come visit me as an adult. So they do come and visit too. And it's really wonderful. When I lost my cockatiel, it was an accident. I wasn't home at the time, and we had some movers bringing in a new sofa, and our cockatiel was out of his cage. And before my husband had a chance to get him in, the mover had opened both doors and the cockatiel got out, which of course broke my heart. And I was looking for him for months. And I did see him the next day, but he wouldn't come out of a tree and he finally flew off. But anyway, it really broke my heart thinking of him out there all alone and everything. And so about 3 months went by, and one night I was lying in bed, and I saw my cockatiel, and there was this banner, and it said, "Don't grieve for me." And I knew he was in heaven. He was showing me that he was safe in heaven. So that was very,
wow.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then,
I'm going to slow you down on that point because we're coming up to the 7-minute stretch where we're going to take our break, top up our teas, and stretch our legs. But everyone else who's listening has to listen to these commercials. You're not allowed to leave. Okay, I'm just kidding. We're going to be back with more about the after-death communication, because I'm finding this very interesting. In fact, I'm finding myself not wanting to ask any questions because I'm just listening. We're with Christine Duminiak, and she can be found at home, but her website can be found at ChristineDuminiak.com. So go find out what she's all about and what we're talking about, and read along with us. And we're right back after the 7-minute stretch.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large. Heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month, where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for. So join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings. No matter where you are, it's time for you to make time for you.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Tonight's edition of Spaced Out Weekend is brought to you by spacedoutradio.com, where you can now sign up to become a Space Traveler member. Now, for the final time tonight, here's Spaced Out Weekend's James Tyson.
Thank you, Dave. Welcome back, everyone, to Spaced Out Weekend. I am talking to my guest, Christine Duminiak, all the way from way down. Well, okay, you're not way down. You're kind of across from us. You're out in the eastern, Mid-East, Central East? No, you're in the eastern part of the U.S., which is, all the way out in Philadelphia. That would be a good place to do a paranormal investigation. There's lots of cool old stuff and lots of stories. That goes back to, that's the 1700s. That would be a great place to, and earlier probably. Yeah, Philadelphia would go back to the 1600s, wouldn't it?
Right. We have one of the oldest streets in the country, Alfred's Alley, which is downtown Philadelphia. And they open at Christmas time. A lot of the residents open up their homes for visitors at Christmas time. Mm-hmm.
And I bet there's no potholes on that street because it was well made back then. So.
They still have the cobblestones there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those are nice. Before we left, we were talking about, from pets to all sorts of different ways things would communicate with you from the other side to show you that they were there. And what we are referring to, listener, is one of the first books that Chris wrote, God's Gift of Love, After Death Communications for Those Who Grieve. Number 5 on your list, God Incidences. What the dickens are you talking about? A God incidence?
They're really coincidences or synchronicities that just happen. For instance, it's the anniversary, your wedding anniversary, but your loved one has passed, and a friend doesn't even know that, and they come and they bring you yellow flowers, for instance, and that's your favorite color, and they did not know that. That's what I call a God incidence, because this was put into their mind to come and give to you, to help you get through that day, to give you some joy. Or, someone, like, for instance, I was talking about the James Van Praagh book that I just happened to turn on James Van Praagh on Larry King Live, which was helping and I bought his book after that, which helped get me ready for when my dead in-laws visited me in my bedroom. These are what I call God incidences that I just happened to turn on the TV at that time to get to see him, and I'd never seen a medium before. So it was not just a coincidence, it's a God incident, something that's arranged by God or your loved ones to help you in your life.
Yeah, I think we've all had those. I had one bumping into a friend of mine who owned a metaphysical place that got me connected to a psychic, which helped me open up, and it all just bounced one after another. It was like a new sidewalk was built, and I was walking down it. And I had no option. I just went from one point to the next point, to the next point, to the next point. And looking back on it, it was a complete right turn, 90-degree turn from where I was headed.
Right.
And now I'm talking to you because I have a little radio show with my buddy doing this and talking about these subjects. You also talk about presence, not presence, which would be cool, but presence.
Yeah.
You just feel, is that the feeling you get that someone's with you?
Yes, it's like you feel like a really strong presence in the room. You just feel it. You just know it's there. And sometimes when this happens, your ears can close up on you, or some people will get what they call like a Morse code type of noises in their ears. But it's like there's a very strong presence in the room. You can feel it even if you can't see it. And yeah, that's what I call presence. And it can even be something as... you're lying in bed, and it could be more like a tangible presence where you feel the bed go down, that you know someone just sat down there beside you.
That is uncomfortable.
For some people, yes, but for, say, like a spouse, a lot of women really like that because they feel it's their husband coming to visit them. So it depends on the situation and the person. I think they try and communicate with us in the way that they know won't scare us.
Yes, I think so. And that's what I've told people, that you're most likely a loved one is not going to show up at the foot of your bed.
Exactly.
They'll come to you in a dream first, because knowing they'd know you. So if you showed up at the foot of the bed, you'd pee the bed if I had somebody standing there looking at me. One of the things, number 7 on your list is sense. And I was relating this to you off air, but I think we talked about it in the show last night. Our psychic Paisley Town was at a paranormal investigation in a house where the spirit of the grandfather, who still kind of would show up in Grandma's room, had a really strong cologne, and not a good smelling cologne.
Oh,
and it was like those old, 90%. rubbing alcohol and some cinnamon or tree bark. It was just a real strong smell.
Is that what he wore though when he was?
Yes, that's what he wore.
Was connected, yeah. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. And like if someone say that your grandmother was a terrific baker, you might smell bread being baked bread around you, or the aroma of that, whatever they might have been noted for. I remember. My mother had, after my dad passed, my mother was complaining that we didn't have enough flowers, and she felt like really sad about that. And I think she told people, "Oh, you don't have to bring flowers." And then after they didn't, she felt, "Oh, why didn't they bring flowers?" So when my mother passed, when people said, "Well, do you want a donation or do you want flowers?" I said, "Oh my goodness, bring flowers. She'll be at her funeral and she'll want flowers." So we had a lot of flowers, and I came home from the funeral and I was exhausted, and I just laid down on my bed. And as I was lying there, I smelled this overwhelming aroma of roses all around me. And I knew it was my mother thanking me for the flowers for her funeral.
Oh, see, and that's a good connection, because usually the overwhelming aroma of roses is a sign of Mary.
Oh yeah, or Saint the little flower, Saint Teresa, the little flower.
Yeah,
she was for her yellow roses, I believe.
Yeah, that's there's a place in California, and I can't remember what it is. And it's very awkward to talk about places where I can't direct you to. But there's an arch, and there's a statue of Mary Magdalene, and when you walk through it, and there's no roses around, but you'll smell roses.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, I got to look that up, because it's one of those little pieces of information I have stuffed in the back of my head, and just enough to talk about, and just enough not to be able to identify it. So,
that's very interesting, because that's a God thing, to let people know that they're coming to a place where the essence of that saint is there.
Yeah.
Very nice. So it helps to increase their faith.
Yes, I think that is. Or if your faith is waning and you're looking for, like, come on, give me a sign that this isn't fading away, then you get the rose smell, which is it's okay. You're just the plan is to drag you kicking and screaming through this hard time, but you're going to come out of it okay. You're only going through the hard time because you have to learn. You also go through electrical manipulations, computers, phone calls, text messages, answering machines, and this gets me into a couple of questions for you. My primary spirit guide, I asked what his name was, and my psychic said, well, he's kind of laughing because he doesn't have a name, and people are always asking for names, and she told me that you'll know what to call him. And that's all she said. Well, I got a text. And imagine writing, accidentally entering your phone MATHW. So I looked at it and went, oh, Matthew. I guess that's what his name is. Mm-hmm. Because I had punched that into my phone. Literally, my phone was in my pocket. I pulled it out, and it was in my phone.
It was already there?
Yeah. So I already somehow punched it in, but I don't know how I did it. And the other one, so that's why I call him my guide Matthew. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And another one, this goes back about 3 years ago, just as I came out of this understanding that, okay, I know what an empath is. I know that there's connections in life after death, and getting comfortable with the paranormal investigation side of things. And I got up, took my dog down to the dog park, opened my cell phone up, which had been turned off, and I noticed that I had received a phone call from a California number. And I thought, this is really weird, because it came in at 5:55 in the morning, and so obviously somebody tried to get a hold of me. Like, why would somebody phone me from California? So I phoned the number back and said, hi, it's James, you called me this morning? And the lady on the other side said, no, you called me. And I said, well, I couldn't have, because my phone was turned off and I was asleep at that time. And she said, well, this is the number that showed up, not on her, and I phoned her back on her cell phone. She said that I phoned her on her landline, which was a unlisted number. She also was a paranormal investigator in California. So I'm thinking, why would I phone a paranormal investigator whose number I don't know, and at 5:55 in the morning? And then she called me back, because when she answered the phone, it was just kind of mumble talk, and she didn't understand it. So she hung up, and then, oh, no, that's not right. She missed the call, saw the number it came from, called it on her cell phone. I answered it. It was all mumbo-jumbo, and she hung up. And on my phone, it doesn't show that I answered her call. It just shows that she phoned, that it wasn't answered.
Right.
So it just couldn't happen. We were talking about this for like half an hour going, this is really weird, because I'm a paranormal investigator too. You're a paranormal investigator. And I put it on my Facebook page. Hey, what are the odds of this happening? And I can't figure out how it connected. And somebody introduced me to angel code and the numbers, the 555. Mm-hmm. And that was the message for both me and the lady in California, that we were ascending and our lives we were becoming more spiritual.
And to connect the two of you also.
Yes. And two of us she was having, actually, I was going through post-traumatic stress, just kind of getting a grip on it, and she was kind of going in a low point in her life. She was in her mid-60s, and all of a sudden this came through, and we both started, and you couldn't figure out how the calls were made, because I had no call going out on my cell phone.
It just can't be explained. It just can't be explained.
Yeah.
It's like supernatural, for sure. This reminds me of one of the stories in my book, very similar. These two men, Claudio, he lived in Italy. His son, I think his name was Dante. had died, and he had a friend whose son had died also. I don't think at the same time, and it was Easter, and he gets something sort of like a phone call. The other person called him, and Claudio showed that he called the other person, and neither of them had called each other. And so Claudio said, "Why did you call me?" And he said, "Why did you call me?" And he said, "I didn't call you. You called me." And he said, "No, you called me." And back and forth, just like you, James, were saying that their sons did that to connect them on Easter, to give them a sign to let them know that they were around, and they hooked them up. Neither of them called each other, but yet they called each other.
Mm-hmm.
They got a phone call, and the other person said, "Why did you call me?" And he said, "No, you called me," and neither of them did it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of similar to what you were just explaining. Yeah.
It is interesting that now that we have the technology, it's easier to manipulate for messages than a burning bush or oh, look, a dove has fallen out of the sky onto a stick, which must mean A, B, or C. It's now we can actually have a text communication.
Right. I remember after my dad passed, my mother would get these phone calls with nobody on the other end, and she would get so annoyed. And I said, Mom, I think that's Daddy calling you from heaven. So then after my mother passed, I remember one day I was typing the different list of signs, and I got 2 phone calls, and all of a sudden my phone rang, and nobody's on the other end, just like what happened to my mother. So I tried calling the number back, and it said, your call cannot be completed as dialed. So I did it again. And then I started to laugh because I was at that point in my list typing up phone calls, unexplained phone calls, when I got the unexplained phone call. As if to say, oh, yeah, we do that. So I thought that was a really neat validation that would happen right at that moment in time.
Yeah. We again, at that moment in time, goes back to your term, God incidents. It is, well, like what my friends say, it is what it is. Just believe it or don't, but wink and choose to believe it, and more will come.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about, sorry, go ahead.
Just remind me one thing that was important since what you were just saying, that a lot of people aren't sure, and they analyze it away. And I always say, don't bother doing that. I mean, you're being given a gift, and just accept it. Don't analyze. They want you to find joy. And many times when we get a sign, you'll get a simultaneous thought that this was from them. And because they want you to know it's from them, and they don't want you to explain it away. They just want you to accept it and enjoy it. And some people just bend over backwards trying to explain it away instead of just accepting their gift. And I always say, if you're going to err on the side that's going to bring you comfort instead of going out of your way to try and dismiss it, because you're overlooking a gift that was meant for you. So,
yeah. I was going to ask you about your I can't remember the term you used, angel team or?
Oh yeah, angel team.
Angel team. What is the difference between an angel team and a group of spirit guides?
Well,
is it a belief or just?
Oh no, there's really the angels. I've had lots of sessions with the angels through my friend Sunny Wells Gift. Mm-hmm. And to ask them questions like that you were saying, and also some of the past podcasts of our Ask the Angels show talks about that. Everyone has 3 angels on their team, and some up to 7, depending on if you are what is known as an angel unaware or not. But I'll go into that a little later. And people who were born like physical beings, they were not created angels, but they were created spirits. They can reach the level, the rank of angel. It's that they have experienced, so much, and they've elevated so much, and that it's a rank that's given to them, that they've reached the rank of angel. And when they reach the rank of angel, the other angels actually call them angels too. Now, not everyone who is around you is an angel, okay? I mean, you always have your main angel, and then you have other, maybe they are, loved ones that have reached that rank of angel, or you may have other loved ones from your life that haven't, and so they're called spirit guides, and so that's the difference.
Okay. The spirit guides or the angels, you have a human or a relative that was elevated to angel status,
right,
to be on your team,
right? Okay.
What's the difference between the relative or a human who had passed being a spirit guide, as opposed to somebody who is elevated to angel, and how do you get that promotion?
Because it's really from what you've done on Earth, and I believe in reincarnation, and it's like what you've done on Earth and different experiences that you've had that have brought you to be closer to God, and just your love and your learning ability, and all our experiences are meant to bring us to, hopefully, to higher elevations in the spiritual realms, where we actually reach the angelic realm. And then when you reach the angelic realm, you're actually residing on the angelic realm with the angels that were actually created angels. And of course, I think there's even more angelic realms, more higher and higher and higher. So the ones that haven't reached that yet, I mean, they can get those angel wings eventually in heaven too, but it's faster if you go through hardships and challenges on Earth to reach those levels than it is if your life is like perfect in heaven. So that's the difference. Like my mother is an angel, but my dad hasn't reached that angelic level yet, and he said he will let me know when he does. So obviously he's going to be working on it there to get his angel wings.
Okay. It's kind of that conundrum that I have, what an angel is and what angel wings are. I see them as an energy, this great energy that if you were to show somebody 2,000 years ago a silhouette or show them this energy, they would put it into human terms and put a person in the middle of it with a round thing over their head and these things coming out the side that looks like wings. And if you had to draw it, this is what it would look like. A human with wings in a gown with a round thing on their head, because that's what our energy would look like as we get higher. We work our vibration higher up into,
I think the higher the higher realm that you're on, the more light I believe there is around.
Yes. So, yeah, it does. And I was been told that this is the fun part about this show. You get to hear all different people's opinions on what happens after you die, because we all want to know that. And or not all of us, but darn it, I do. I want to know what happens after I die, but I don't want to die to find out.
That's right.
It's a little bit of conundrum. But
variant stories.
One of the things is that I've been told that I'm in the last life in the fourth dimension. So I've had multiple lives, checking off that list of all the things that I need to do to ascend. And then my next life, my next group of lives will be in the fifth dimension, and the sixth and seventh dimension are no longer, we'll no longer have our body. We'll be light beings, which is, if you went seventh dimension, and at the end of the seventh dimension, you would look like an angel, basically. But so that's, I wonder if, for example, your mother is in such a high vibration right now, and because time is irrelevant, because time is man-made, she has, she's in two places at once, is what I'm trying to say. She could actually exist in the fifth dimension, or
she's not. She can be in two places at once, but not in the physical, like a human body form.
Correct.
But it's a consciousness form where she can be in more than one place at one time. Now, people who have reached the angelic realm, if they come down here to Earth, they usually have a mission. And it's not really for learning so much as it is for a mission. And so if you are here on Earth, like little children could be like this, they're called angel unawares. They're unaware of the fact when they come here that they have reached the angelic realm, but they've come here for a specific purpose to help mankind, to help their families, like the children, who may die at the hand of a drunk driver, like the Mothers of Mad group. Children came for that purpose, to bring awareness to how DUI affects other people, and to help like stamp that out, and that was their mission. So usually you can, I think generally if you find that children die at an early age, that was always in their spiritual plan with God, and they were angel unawares to help the people around them to grow stronger and closer to God. It was always meant to be, and it's not a punishment. It's for the soul growth of the people around them who are affected by what has happened.
What, when you talk about people, the beings coming back, the angels coming back, the loved ones coming back, we quite often in our paranormal group, in fact, I had one not too long ago, just a week or so ago, we had the person phone up saying, my nephew was staying here with his mom. He's 3 years old, and he walks around the house talking to an adult and smiling and nodding and carrying on a conversation and looking up. And my 18-month-old is now doing it too, is looking off into space and smiling and giggling and nodding like they're communicating with somebody.
I wrote a book about this. Heaven Talks to Children.
Yes.
Yes, and the subtitle is Afterlife Signs, Spiritual Gifts and Loving Messages. And it's over 100 stories of children's experiences, which their parents have given me for the book. And it's so wonderful about kids. It's so cool. They're like little mediums walking around.
Yeah.
They just natural for them to see and hear spirits. The younger they are, the more they cannot differentiate a human being from a spirit. They think they're one and the same, and they'll wonder why. Well, why aren't you talking to Grandma? And they get real upset because you're not talking to, and they're trying to explain it to you, and they get really frustrated that you're ignoring Grandma, for instance. And so my book is all about that. And there's a special chapter in there because people who are Christians and Catholics because of the belief system of their leaders, they don't always understand that these gifts are from God, and they're worried that it's from Satan. So I wrote it. So there's a chapter in that book called does oh my goodness, it's about, I forget the name, but does the Bible permit spirit communication? And it gives really positive New Testament verses, scripture, that shows how Jesus and his disciples were communicating with spirits, but also how to test the spirit. The Apostle John tells us how to test the spirit, to not believe every spirit. And so there's really good information in there. I'm sorry, my husband will get that phone call. There's really good information in that book and how to safely nurture a child so they will know how to protect themselves, because sometimes not good spirits will visit them. They'll appear as monsters and creepy crawly insects and things to children when they're vulnerable and they're afraid. And I always, if you can teach a child just to yell out, help me God, or help me Jesus, or whoever you refer to, your divine source, it'll empower the child to see the change in the room if they just learn that. It's just very simple. And then, it's a way to protect them and not have them afraid of the gift or afraid of spirits, and to get the word out there that It's not. There's nothing psychologically wrong with a child, because some professionals will think that if they're hearing from spirits and seeing spirits, and it's really to educate not only the parent but therapists and teachers and all those who come in contact with children who are not seeing what a child is seeing, to know that it's a very common experience for that to happen. So they won't get misdiagnosed, and they'll be their gift will be encouraged by especially their parents.
Oh, yeah. I had one of those incidents of the negative one when I was very little. My mother had a great big stuffed panda bear, and not a real panda bear that was stuffed, but the meat tastes marvelous. It's kind of like whooping crane. No, and it was a big stuffed toy, and it was at the foot of my bed. It stood up and scowled at me and started walking towards me. So I did what I would do right now and just hid under the blankets. But trying to write that off as a bad dream wasn't going to work. I saw that happen, and I swear I saw that happen. It never happened again. Well, because moved it out of the room. But the room lightened up a lot after that, moving that out.
Angels came in to protect you. See, you wonder why. Our angels are always on the alert to protect us, but they are on a higher realm than the earth realm is, which is denser. So the demons are, the bad guys are closer to our earth vibration.
They're lower vibration, yeah.
So sometimes they will fly under the radar of our angels, and they'll get through that way. But as soon as your angel recognizes that's happened, they'll swoop right down, and especially for children, to to protect them. So yeah, that's what happened to you. Yeah, one through exactly. And maybe God let that happen and get through, so you could see how the room you got protected, because you said the room got lighter, correct?
There was no more negativity going on, but I look back at that now as thinking that God let that to happen, or Source lets that happen, because that's what I call God, Source, to basically shut down and for me to block my connection to the spirit realm until it was needed. And I hit the awakening in 2012. And I had to experience a whole bunch of crap going up until that point, which, I took that 90-degree turn. And what I experienced from a child to 2012, I could write 2 books on what I experienced in there. But maybe that was my path. And I had to be shut down at that point to the other side, to the psychic. And I've always said that children are wide open like little antennas when they're born. And eventually things get blocked when their parents tell them, oh, it's just a dream, or, this is not a scientific way of thinking about it, or our religion forbids you to think like that. So we get all these bricks put up in front of us, which basically builds a wall. Or we're in such fear as children, we just block it out completely and ignore it, and eventually it goes away because we're not connecting to it anymore, or we're not open to that energy coming in. And so that's interesting. And in our case with the little kid, we just had the parents, and this is where I want to kind of use this as our jumping off point to Grammy Visits from Heaven, another one of your books, and again, Heaven Talks to Children. The client was concerned that there was a ghost in the house. And I said, that doesn't sound like a ghost. That sounds like a benevolent entity. And see, ghosts, for the difference, a ghost, or what we would determine being a ghost, hasn't crossed over, hasn't gone to the light. They still have the same personality here that they had before they passed. Once you've gone over and you've gone through your training and you come back basically with no judgment anymore, you're love and light, and you can come back and you have a mission. Because Lord knows we don't want grandma showing up, hanging out in the bedroom while we're dressed up as penguins swinging from the ceiling. So but there's no judgment there. So without judgment, there's no frustration, anger, and obviously they won't judge. So they come back under love and light. So I said, what you need to do is get a whole bunch of pictures. Like I said, do you have somebody who's passed that you were very close to? Maybe a grandmother? She goes, my great-grandmother passed, and I was very close to her. So I said, put her picture in a pile of other pictures of people about her age, take it to the 3-year-old, and ask the 3-year-old if he knows anybody in these pictures. And he pointed at the great-grandmother and said, that's the lady who lives in Auntie's house. So I said, we cannot, as a paranormal team, go there and communicate with that, your great-grandmother. Because what she does on her mission is she will just step back. Because she is at such a higher realm. A psychic would be able to communicate with that person, but a paranormal investigator using our equipment won't, because they will just back away, because that's not what they do.
You know, if God has assigned them to be there, they're going to be there.
in your study and in your stories, specifically in the Heaven Talks to Children, have you kind of come up with a theory on why they come back to talk to children?
Oh, it's really love. It's to play with them, to just to be around them, to enjoy their company. It's love. And because, they're around lots of times, they're around adults too, but the adult can't see them, but the child can. So it's just like to gently guide them in their life. They're still connected to them. And it could be their mission that they are on their angel team, for instance, and that they are going to be around them to gently guide them along the right path in their life. But the child is blessed to be able to see them. And as you were saying about pointing out the photographs, that's what happens many times in the stories in my book, where the child was able to pick out and say that, that's Grandpa Joe, who they never even met. And no one ever talked about in front of the child, but that's who he's showing, helps me tie my shoes and things like that. Yeah. So it's just that it's nothing unusual for spirits to be around us, especially if they're assigned to us. But children have the ability to see them, whereas we don't.
Yes. And those children who are very, very sensitive, we had a client with a psychic father and a very sensitive mother, and this little boy was a lightning rod and attracted every low energy human spirit that hadn't crossed from the neighborhood over to the house. And they basically sat in his room talking to him all night, and he couldn't sleep. He got scared, and he'd go run into his parents' bedroom and say, there's a man talking to me in my bedroom, and there's a lady floating over my bed, and I can't sleep, which freaked Mom out, as you can imagine. So what do? We have to clean them out. We've asked them to leave, but once we do that, there's going to be others that want to, kind of walking down the street and see this big beacon of energy and want to come over and say, hey, you've got lots of energy. Can you help me cross? Or could you get me out of here? Or could I just kind of brush up against you and, tune in a little bit? But it's hard with the little kids that are like that. When they get a little bit older, we can teach them how to block and build their little cocoon. But
along those lines, James, before I had my first session with Sonny Wells, and I would, and my in-laws, not only my in-laws were visiting, but I could see the room was filled with spirits every night when I'd go to bed, and it was really disconcerting because I didn't know who they are or why they were there. So I did all the usual, talking to them and surrounding myself with light and things like that. But nothing was working. So once I had my session with Sonny Wells, and she and the angels taught me how to, ask for God's holy protection and to bind and rebuke Satan. And it all changed. It stopped happening to me. And I realized that just asking for Christ's protection seemed to do it. Like, it was the most powerful tool that I had. All the other tools did not cut it. But just asking for Jesus' protection cut it. That did it. It was so powerful. And I was shown a few times that to do that. They showed me, they put me in situations where I didn't do that, and I did do that, asking for Jesus to protect me, and the difference that it made. They were just trying to like teach me something. So I'm saying whoever a person prays to, if you teach a child to ask for God or whomever, Jesus, protection, it will be very empowering, because I have found in my work that is the most powerful thing that you can do. And perhaps it would help the child to, learn that and see what happens, see if it is a lot better, So maybe he would have like more protection in that room to like move out the spirits that are bothering him. It's just so powerful. I've seen so many times in my own life in situations with spirits that I was taught that. And so
that's good.
That's it on. I was doing all the usual white light kind of thing, which is nice. It's good, but it just wasn't as powerful as calling directly on God or Christ.
I've always thought of it as, if my computer breaks down, do I go to Bill Gates, or do I go to the people he's assigned to take care of the computer fixing?
Uh-huh.
So what I do is I kind of hit up the archangels, and that's who I use for protection. I use Michael, specifically going into paranormal investigations. Plus, he's very strong in me, I've heard. Rumor has it. And it's very quick. It is very quick. Yeah. I kind of deal kind of through the management, on the management triangle. If the defecation is hitting the rotary oscillator, I might go to Jesus. I might kind of work my way up a little. I might yell at Michael to get down here and do something, but and that's just my belief. I just let those guys, the higher ascended master Jesus, he's busy. He's got all his stuff. He's assigned things out to the archangels. God is kind of the main supervisor who maybe goes through the books once in a while. But
I get that. But I always like to go with the top guy. I don't mess around with his VPs. I just go to the top guy and I hand it to him and let him send who he wants to send. That is my philosophy. That's my philosophy. And it helps bring me closer to God too, that way too, knowing that he did it for me because I prayed to him. It's just my personal thing. I like going to the top guy.
I wonder if this is my wonder. I wonder if he's actually taking the call, or it's forwarded to one of the archangels who takes it, because they never tell you who's actually coming in.
It's actually both. And from talking to the angels, like lots of times I'll ask them questions and they say, Chris, we don't know everything. We only are given things by God on a need-to-know basis. So and that's how it works. It's like the chain of command. And they don't tell us to pray to them. They always tell us, when I have conversations with them through Sunny Wells, to go to God, go to God, go. I can't tell you how many times they always defer to God. And so some things that they can't tell us, if I pray to God to know the information or whatever, then I've noticed that sometimes then they're given the information from God because I asked God. But it's always, it's never really, it's always, I'd say 99% of the time, they'll say, pray to God for that, pray to God for that. They don't say pray to us, they say pray to God. So I said, okay, that's fine. And it helps me, like I said, to feel closer to God because of that, because I know that he's looking after me because I asked him. And then when you see that your prayers are answered, maybe not in the way you want them to be, but there's movement on your part, it's it's just like wonderful to know that God hears you and he cares about you, and that you're important to God. We're all important to God, but it's nice to get that confirmation when you go directly to God, to have some movement to help you. And in my book, Grammy Visits from Heaven, for children. It's an illustrated children's book. And the whole purpose of that, and this is my favorite book, James, out of all my books, because it simply explains like a relationship between a little girl and her grandmother, and then it explains, the grandmother explains that she's very sick and she's going to die, and the angels are in the room, and you see the angels in the room, and she said, but, don't be afraid, my spirit that looks just like my body, except for it has a lot of light, will pop right out of my body, and it'll go right to heaven with the angels, and I'll see Grandpa Jack, and so that happens in the book, and you see her spirit flying off with the angels while her body's laying in bed. So it helps the child to understand what a spirit is and why the body isn't working anymore. And then it goes on to show the little girl praying to, and then you see the grandmother going to heaven and being welcomed by God and all her loved ones, and they're having a party, and you see kids playing games and pets being there. So it gives a visual to children of what heaven looks like. But then the little girl is so sad because she misses her grandmother, who was her BFF. And one night she prays to God, and she by her bed, and she and her grandmother used to pray together to God every night. And she's praying to ask God if her grandmother could come back and play with her one more time. And while she's praying, you see God and the grandmother looking down at her and feeling very sad for the little girl. And the little girl hopes that God hears her, which is what every person, adult and children, wonder. And so he says, yes, I want you to go back and play with her and give her a kiss for me. And so one day the little girl is out back on her favorite swing, and her grandmother always pushed her on her because she was too little to do it herself. She's sitting on this swing missing her grandmother, and all of a sudden she gets this push, and she turns around and it's her grandmother. And so they hug, and she said, God said to give you a kiss, and that I can come and play with you all day today. And so they do, and then her mother comes out and wants to know what all the commotion is, and the little girl says, oh, Grammy's here, and she's going to play with me today. And of course the mother can't see her, and she says, oh, that's okay, and she goes back into the house. And the little granddaughter wonders why her mother didn't say hello to her, and the grandmother explains, well, children are very special to God, and he lets them see things that adults can't see. So they played the whole day together, and then the grandmother has to go back, and she says, but I'll come back to all your special occasions, and I'll visit you in your dreams, and when I come back, sometimes you'll see me and sometimes you won't, but I'll be with you forever. And then the little girl waves to her grandmother as she flies off to heaven. So what is so nice about this, it's a way to explain to children death, and what is death, and what is the spirit body, and what heaven looks like, and that God hears their prayers, and that their loved ones come back and see them. And it's an uplifting book because it has such a happy ending, instead of the usual grief book where the kid's sad and there's nothing happy to look forward to and they have to get used to it. It's what happens in the real world to children, and it's a good book for adults too. And this book is really a compilation of the stories from my book, Heaven Talks to Children. It's like a fictional story of what really happens in children's lives, and it's a feel-good book if you lost someone and you're trying to explain it to children. It doesn't matter who you lost. It's the idea that they're understanding what's happened, and that their loved ones can still see and hear them on a part of their life. And that's why I love that book.
How long ago did that book come out?
Last year.
Oh, so it's a relatively new one. Yeah, mm-hmm. Nice. And of course, the listener, if it goes over, listener, you are it. If my listener goes to your website, you can go to Christine's books, and they're available all over the place.
Page of my website also, so all my 4 books are there, so they can just click it on, or they can just go right, and it'll take them to Amazon. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Uh-huh.
So get their malaria shots. Oh, it won't take them to the Amazon. Oh, you've also got your meditation CD on there too, and some your grief diaries. Now, what are grief diaries? The Hello from Heaven.
Okay, so Linda Chelderland-Fell is the creator of the Grief Diary series, and she has about 18 different books out. And she had lost her daughter in a car accident, and she had a dream about this 2 years before it was going to happen. And she had a dream that where her daughter died in the car accident, there was a book left behind. And Linda was the last person who ever thought about writing a book. But years go by, and she realizes that she felt this desire to write a book about to help other people, because she had such a support group when her life was like devastated because of her child. She was 15 years old, coming back from seeing Michael Phelps in a swim meet, and her daughter wanted to be an Olympic swimmer. That was her goal. And so anyway, after she wrote a few of her books, she realized she remembered the dream that she had 2 years before her daughter died, which she tried to wipe out of her mind, about not only the death was supposed to bring about the books. So she has all different ones, like Grief Diaries, Loss of a Parent, Grief Diaries, Loss of a Pregnancy, all different types if you go over to Linda Fell's website. And so this one is Grief Diaries, Hello from Heaven, and I'm just a co-author there. She really, I wrote the foreword to the book. And but it's people who contributed their stories, their afterlife contacts that they had. So, yeah. So she has at least 18 books out now, and she's publishing all herself. She developed this publishing business so she could get her books out there, and it's sort of like a little bit like Chicken Soup of the Soul. Mm-hmm. But she touches on so many things, and there's no end to the different titles that she has going out there. So quite a remarkable person. And I thought she'd be a wonderful person for you to interview sometime, because she wrote the foreword to my book, Heaven Talks to Children, the second edition, and she explains that she, as a child, could see and hear spirits, but she was told to not talk about it, and she had a lot of really bad experiences. And then when she was an adult, she became a born-again Christian, and she felt like she had to acknowledge that God gave her a gift, and it wasn't right that she should just not use it because of condemnation, which happens lots of times. And she lost a lot of friends because she came out about her gift. And so she writes about that in the foreword to my book, because she understands from personal firsthand experience of what it was like being a child with a gift, and the scary parts of it, because no one was there to guide her and to protect her. And she'd be a wonderful person for you to interview.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. It's it's one of the things that Dave Scott and Dave does the show Monday to Friday. We want the different views of the same subject. And if you don't open yourself up to different opinions on the same subject, how are we ever going to kind of make our own conclusions? It's like doing research in a library. Remember when we were kids, they had libraries, this place where they had all those things they called books. Yeah.
Yeah. It still exists.
Yeah, all those little bookses out there. It's we used to sit and go to multiple sources about one subject and do a report on it from that way, not just sticking to one not sticking to the Wikipedia of all that's out there. Yeah, so those are the kind of people that I would like. I may take you up on that and give her a shout. Yeah.
Information and her experiences, and she became a medium for a while there, but now she's sort of stopped doing that in order to do her books. But when my book Heaven Talks to Children, I give a lot of information out there, and I say, what feels right to you, that's good. And if you can't wrap your brain around, if it's against your belief system, that's okay too. Just keep it in the back of your mind, because someday it might strike an aha moment of something that you read from my book. So, it's a way to think about things, but you don't have to accept what I write as my truth. So whatever feels right to you. Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is finding our own truth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, if we're all open and positive loving and caring, no matter what we name it, it's still the same thing. We're just labeling it differently. As long as we believe that what we're doing and forgiving and love and light and get along with everybody and help each other, we're going to be okay.
Well,
we just all have different labels for it.
A positive impact on the circle. And so when you go back and have your life's review, you'll feel happy about your contribution.
Yeah, I'm still concerned about the first few years, but I was young. There was lemon gin involved. I don't believe people actually drank that stuff. It was just for 16-year-olds, mixing it with root beer. Okay. Now I'm going to give myself the creeps. The workshops that you have, are those, do you have anything that's online, or are these all come and sit with you in Philadelphia?
Okay, so, I have, I do workshops wherever, if you have a group of people and you'd like me to speak to your group. I was the keynote speaker at the National Grief and Hope Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana, and a keynote speaker at the Death and Dying Conference in Arizona, and then a presenter at the Afterlife Awareness Conference. And then I also do, and that was in St. Louis. So I'll travel, but I also will do local seminars too. And I was invited to, there's going to be a veteran symposium here in Philadelphia. And I was invited to be a speaker, have a workshop on grief healing and afterlife signs for veterans. That'll be my aspect of the symposium, and that'll be in April. And it's being put on by the Chapel of the Four Chaplains. And I don't know if you know that story, but it's so... No. Oh my gosh. Well, in World War II, on February 3rd, 1943, there were a lot of Army troops, like 900 of them, on their way to Greenland and on the ship, the Dorchester, and they were torpedoed by a German boat, submarine, yes. And so the ship was going down, and they ran out of life jackets. And there were 4 chaplains from different faiths on that ship, and they were all friends. There was a Jewish one, a Catholic, a Methodist, Protestant, and they gave up their life jackets to other guys who were on the ship, so their lives could be spared. And they tried to calm the soldiers down, and so things would be orderly and they wouldn't be afraid. And they just linked arms and they prayed and they sang as the ship went down. And they were the four chaplains. And so I think it was Truman in maybe 1951 gave them a special award that no one else ever had, called the Valor of Honor, for what they did. And there's a chapel devoted to them in Philadelphia. And so it's all about helping veterans programs, and helping veterans, PTSD and things like that. And so my part of my talk will also address the guilt factor for veterans, why was I spared? A lot of people feel guilty about that, and I'd like to explain the spiritual aspect of why they were spared, because that was that person's mission. They were supposed to go out the way they were going out. That was their spiritual contract with God before they came here. And others had different spiritual contracts, and they still had work to do, and will be called home when their lessons are learned and their missions are finished. So there was a reason why they were called home. Theirs was done. That's what they signed up for, even though they don't remember that when they're here. And when people understand that, it just changes their way of thinking that their life really has purpose and meaning, and you're not supposed to feel guilty about something that was already, agreements are made with God when you came here to earth. You're supposed to make the most out of your life, and everyone has a purpose. And so that'll be part of my talk too. Because I hate to see people suffer in that respect because they don't understand that we make these spiritual agreements with God and that's why things happen the way that they do.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Good for you. And when is that coming up?
It's probably going to be in April. I was talking to the executive director just the other day, and she's looking to set it up probably the first week in April here in Philadelphia. So I'm waiting to get the actual date in 2017. Yeah. So yeah, and it's interesting. I had a dream one night that I was supposed to work with the veterans. This was just a few months ago. So I said, okay. So I just double checked with my guardian angel when I had a session with Sonny Wells. They said, yep, you're supposed to be working with veterans now. That's where God wants you. And I said, okay. And so then I started to make contacts of who knew, people that I knew in the area that might have contacts that would be on the spiritual aspect, because, we live in a very PC world. And especially in the armed forces nowadays, it's difficult to even mention God. So I was looking for the spiritual aspect, and I was led to this particular person because, you're dealing with chaplains, right?
Yep.
And she deals with chaplains all the time, so there would be a mindset that it's okay to talk about God, and so that's why I connected with her, because it would be the right venue where you wouldn't be forbidden, that you might offend someone if you mention God's name. So.
Yeah, well, right, and if you think about it, whether it's paganism, one of our really good friends, our radio show, who has a paranormal group in Washington State, is a pagan, and Army veteran, post-traumatic stress, but a wonderful, wonderful guy. And if it wasn't for his belief system, I think he'd be right off the rails. And there's pagan military associations in the U.S. Paganism is growing right through the U.S. Army, just because it's not everybody's a witch or a wizard, but it's a more spiritual side of things, and it comes back to that whole thing. As long as you believe, and you do things for good, and not bring negative energy around other people. Do what you want, as long as there's a belief.
Yeah. So do this group, the pagan group, do they believe in a creator?
Yeah. Some believe in a creator. There could be a god or a goddess, whether they're Norse, Druid, shamanism, old religion, old earth religion. These are different names it's actually known: shamanism, Druidism, earth religion. But basic Wicca is a recognition of the nature worship of tribal Europe, strongly, and it was influenced by nature back then, and the tribal peoples of the time. What's in the last 1,000 years, or actually not even 1,000 years, maybe 700-800 years, we've been in North America. But before that, it was again based, the First Nations people here, or the American Indians, based their religions on nature. So it's just kind of getting back to the natural belief, the basic beliefs, the sacred as immanent in nature, often personified would be like Mother Earth, Father Sky, and there'd be the deities would be gods or God, but there's always going to be one main energy source. They don't worship or believe in Satan, the devil, or any similar types of entities. Satan was like the symbol of rebellion against the inversion of the Christian and Jewish traditions. Wiccans do not revile the Bible. They simply regard it as one of those a mythic system. So it's it's interesting. I watched a commercial on it, not a commercial, a little news clip that had the U.S. What do you call those guys? You just used the word. The chaplain. The chaplain has to accommodate all the different religions on an army base, and it was just him getting his head around. Now they're adding Wicca to Catholic, Protestant, Judaism, Muslim. I think in the U.S. Army right now, they probably would rather you be a pagan than a Muslim. So, just the way things have been going. But who knows? It's
what I've noticed in my work, James, is that the people who I deal with that come to my website and Facebook page, the ones who have a relationship with God, who pray to God, seem to heal so much quicker. And not that they're not in pain, but they don't seem to suffer the way people who don't have any faith do. Excuse me. And it's quite amazing. It's really like dramatic. The people that have faith in God and ask Him to get them through a very difficult time, they just seem to do so much better. It's quite striking. And in my own case, I found that to be true. I remember after my mother passed, and it really hurt because now both my parents were gone. And sometimes I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I came up with this prayer that just came to me. And every time I felt that pain, this was my little prayer. I said, Jesus, please replace my heart's sorrow with your joy. And every time I said that prayer, I felt better and better and better. And in 2 weeks, James, it was like a miracle. That pain that I was feeling just left me, just was gone. Now, it's not that I didn't miss my mother, because I did, but that pain that I was suffering, when I said that prayer, I thought, I know God wants me to be happy. And I know my mother wants me to be happy. And I wanted to be happy. And because my natural state is I'm a happy person. I just have these happy genes. And I wanted to be back to that state again, especially working with people who were grieving. I wanted to be happy. And after 2 weeks, James, it was like a miracle. It was like He replaced my heart's sorrow with His joy. And they just left. So I just can't. I like to pass that along to people. And if you would, give it a try. What can it hurt to give it a try?
Oh, it hurts nothing. I preach up and down on the forgiveness thing, just going through everything that you've ever bumped into that was negative to you in the past, and remembering the incident and the person, and just in your mind, just say those 3 words, I forgive you, and then move to the next one. You don't have to put any weight on the words.
Yeah.
And it took me 6 or 7 nights, and it was all gone. It was all on them. It wasn't on me anymore.
Yeah, and you know what, James? A lot of people believe erroneously that if you are forgiving, you're condoning, but you're not. It's just, you're not condoning bad behavior. And what you're doing is just letting it go and forgiving the person, and just letting it go and not let it eat you up anymore. It becomes toxic to you to carry that around. But that doesn't mean you've condoned their actions. It's just letting it go by forgiving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Learn from the incident. Don't forget what you learned. Just remember, it's not about you. It's about their issues, and put it back on them.
Yeah.
They have their own. They're going to have to forgive themselves, which is I always find hard. I can't even. The forgiving myself is supposed to be the easy one. I always think it's easy to forgive everybody else. It's hard to forgive me.
It is. Yeah. Well, I know we're getting near probably the end of the show.
Oh, no. We were near the end of the show 10 minutes ago.
Oh, well, just give a little tip to your viewers, or not your viewers, your listeners. A lot of people want to know how they can get an afterlife sign from their loved ones. And for me, I found this to be very helpful. It's a 2-step process. And I always say, first, pray to God, ask Him to allow your loved one to come give you a sign, because, He's the one that permits it. They can't do anything without God's permission. And then state something specific that you would recognize as a sign for your loved one. Say, send me a butterfly. And so when you get that butterfly, it's so much easier to claim it as your sign because you asked for it, you see? Instead of a butterfly just coming randomly and you wonder, I wonder if that's a sign. But if you ask for something specific and it happens, then you know. And then they'll often repeat the signs that they'll give you because they'll know that you recognize it as a sign from them. And they want you to recognize it as a sign from them.
Yep. Yeah, that's the best way to do it is to provide yourself an image for the sign, or you'll be looking at every leaf turning and every bug crawling, wondering if that's it.
Mm-hmm. And always look for the unusual. It's usually something that's peculiar that happens that will get your attention and you think fine.
My friend's partner had his father pass, and in the weeks after the father passed, it was this time of year, very, very cold on the west coast of Canada, and he was thinking about his dad. He got out of the car and he stopped, and he looked at the car, and there was a butterfly on the hood of the car.
Oh.
That butterfly is way out of season, and it just sat there, and he put his hand out. He was standing in front of the car, and the butterfly took off from the car and landed on his hand.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to say, and then he squished it. But but that would be, the sign of signs.
Oh,
a butterfly out of season, and then opening his hand up and having it fly to him. Amazing.
And gives me that's a beautiful story. It reminds me of a beautiful one about a dragonfly, a story that's in my book, God's Gift of Love After Death Communications, where this woman had lost her son. And one day she came out and the dragonfly flew right where her heart would be. Mm-hmm. And he just stayed there for about 20 minutes. So she went inside to get her camera and he stayed there. And she went back outside, took a picture, and it stayed there for another 20 minutes and then it flew away.
Wow.
And she knew it was her son. Yeah.
And dragonflies are a very common a way of bringing a spirit from the other side to communicate with you. Opening a door and having a dragonfly fly in and then fly around the room.
Well, you'll be interested to know that the angels explain to us that our loved ones can briefly co-inhabit the bodies of butterflies, dragonflies, insects, animals to be near us. And so that's something that God allows. I'm not saying they reincarnate it. I'm just saying for a brief period of time, in order to be close to us, they can briefly co-inhabit. So, it's even more than you think that they're just opening. It's from what I understand, it's them for a little brief period of time. In fact, I asked my dad about that one time in a session with Sonny, and he said, I said, how long can you do that for? He said the most he ever heard of anyone being able to do that was 24 hours. So it's usually less than that.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, 24 hours, that's a good amount of time.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and like if your pets are acting, more lovable, more cuddly, you have to think that a loved one is co-inhabiting that animal to be near you. Mm-hmm. And they're usually more peaceful, more loving when they're around like that. Yes.
Wow, this is good. This is good. And I want to thank you for dropping by and remind everybody, if you go to Christine Duminiak's website, I'll say it perfectly once you're gone. Christine Duminiak's website, you can see the different books that she's written. Again, Grammy Visits from Heaven, Heaven Talks to Children, Afterlife Contacts, Spiritual Gifts and Loving Messages, God's Gift of Love, After Death Communications, and she is a co-author of the Grief Diaries, Hello from Heaven. Christine is also a certified reflexologist and a certified energy healing practitioner. She has volunteered her time and skills to hospice and cancer patients for women in crisis, pregnancies, shelters, and for women transitioning from substance abuse shelters. Again, thank you very much, Christine, for taking your time with us.
It was such a pleasure, James. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being on your show.
Oh, this is great. Again, I love your take on things, and I love your energy and how Spirit works through you. It's absolutely amazing.
God bless you, James.
And you too. And I want to thank everybody for dropping by, especially those people through 107.7 FM in New Orleans and all their listeners around the globe. And for you, my listener, in our chat rooms at SOR Space Travelers and on Spreaker. And until tomorrow night, please keep an open mind.
This is our last goodbye. Young hearts will stop. Torn souls set free. All that we have is now. If this is what you want, then come to me.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices? They sing as they go. What are those voices? Look over the mountain. Because somebody hide, somebody better hide on through the hill, like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. Dead or alive, we are out to get you, dead or alive. And forget yourself. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done, throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man that after now. Run through the hill like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. Dead or alive, we are out to get you, dead or alive. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done, throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after.
I see dead people.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dave's not here!
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.